Chapter 795. Once Yu Xiaoluo said that, Dong Weigua and the others widened their eyes. Qin Yiru's daughter who was about to marry Gu Junjian was slashing god of Team Monarch. The slashing god who led Jia province's military to annihilate Inferno Ring? Just like the rumor said, slashing god was really young. Yu Xiaoluo and the others were already aware of this. However, no one told them that slashing god of Team Monarch was Qin Yiru's daughter who was about to marry Gu Junjian. How could such an outstanding talent become Gu Junjian's stepdaughter? Yu Xiaoluo was only joking when he told Yun Jian to enroll Yun Jian in their military school. Who would have thought that it would actually come true? What's the fuss about? Sit down. Gu Junjian chided Yu Xiaoluo with a half-chuckle before pulling Yu Xiaoluo who was sitting beside him back to his seat. Did Xiao Jian's slashing god of Team Monarch really scare you? Look at all of you, heh. Gu Junjian could not help teasing his comrades when he caught them in the act. As he spoke, Gu Junjian picked up a piece of lotus root with his chopsticks and swallowed it with a grin on his face. He looked extremely smug. Yun Jian had become his bragging right now. Yun Jian was his subordinate to begin with, but now, she was his daughter. Although she was not his biological daughter, Gu Junjian had already treated Yun Jian, Yun Yi, Xiao Yunju, the other three, and Ce as his own descendants. My goodness, brother Gu, you've taken slashing god as your daughter without a word. You're really something. Yu Xiaoluo was sitting beside Gu Junjian. As he spoke, he reached out and patted Gu Junjian's arm lightly. Dong Weigua and the others were stunned as well. Qin Yiru, Yun Yi, and the others did not know what slashing god of Team Monarch was, but they knew that she must be amazing based on Yu Xiaoluo and the others' reactions. Qin Yiru was proud of Yun Jian. When they found out that Yun Jian was slashing god of Team Monarch, Yu Xiaoluo and the others kept staring at Yun Jian and asking her all sorts of questions. They looked like a bunch of old kids who had bumped into their idol. In fact, that was the truth. Yun Jian could be considered as a prodigy at a young age. To achieve what she did was to achieve this was something that Yu Xiaoluo and the others could not achieve even in their lifetime. Just when the atmosphere was joyous and harmonious, a person suddenly ran in through the door of the private room. Who's there? Did you go the wrong way? Yu Xiaoluo immediately stood up and said. Yun Jian, Qin Yiru, and Yunyi looked up and saw the person running in. Uncle? Yunyi called out in surprise when she saw who it was. It was none other than Yun Jian and Yun Yi's biological father's elder brother, Yun Zheng. He was also Qin Yiru's ex-husband, Yun Gang's biological elder brother. Why was he here though? Or perhaps, why did he come here? Just as the group wondered, Yun Zheng had already rushed to Yun Jian, Yun Yi, and Qin Yiru and told them, Yiru, Xiao Jian, Xiao Yi, I'm really out of ideas. That's why I'm here to beg you. Xiao Jian, uncle knows that you're a good girl, a capable one. You've set up new crews at such a young age. Your dad's really in big trouble now. He went to Jia province's biggest casino to gamble and lost. He can't pay back his debt and now they're here to collect the debt, saying that they're not only going to kill him, they're going to kill our whole family too. Uncle can think of another way but Yaya's still young. She's only in junior high. Chapter 796. Yun Zheng's sudden arrival made the faces of the few people present somewhat awkward. Especially Gu Junjian. It was because Yun Zheng was Qin Yiru's ex-husband's elder brother. Today's gathering was held for Gu Junjian and Qin Yiru's upcoming wedding, but Qin Yiru's ex-husband's elder brother had barged in halfway. What was going on? In spite of it, everyone present was more or less shocked when they heard what Yun Zheng said. Gu Junjian knew about Qin Yiru's family background in the past as he had heard about it from Qin Yiru back then. Dong Weigua and the others, on the other hand, were clueless. When they heard Yun Yi and Yun Zheng's conversation, they could tell that Yun Zheng was related to Qin Yiru. However, Yun Zheng's arrival had left a bad first impression on everyone present. Although Yun Zheng's arrival had nothing to do with Qin Yiru, Dong Weigua and the others felt that their first impression of Qin Yiru was much worse. Currently, Dong Weigua and the others were only paying attention to Yun Zheng's actions and ignored what he said. Even when Yun Zheng mentioned that Yun Jian founded new crews, Dong Weigua and the others did not catch it and simply ignored it. He went gambling again? Yun Jian's voice drifted over while everyone was preoccupied with their own thoughts. Yun Jian had already shifted her gaze to Yun Zheng. A glint seemed to be reflected in her penetrating gaze, drawing everyone's attention to her involuntarily. It's the debt from gambling before the new year. I didn't expect him to gamble again. He went to the biggest casino in Zhe province too. Now that the people from the casino are here, he's been taken away. We don't have the money to pay it back. Those people said that if we can't gather the money in 3 days, they'll kill him and our entire family. They even said that they'll sell Yaya to the brothel to pay off the debt. Xiao Jian, I'm begging you to save Yaya. She's innocent. Yun Zheng said with a bitter smile. Actually, Yun Zheng's family was innocent. The cause of the matter was also very simple. Yun Gang had a gambling debt before the new year, and now he was being chased for his debt. Naturally, Yun Gang himself could not pay it back, so his own people were arrested. As the saying goes, the son pays the father's debts. Now, Yun Gang's ex-wife, Qin Yiru, had completely left Yun Gang with Yun Jian and Yun Yi. It could be said that they had cut off all ties with each other. The news that Yun Jian was the director of new crews had also spread. The debt collectors had investigated Yun Jian's family background and knew that they would not dare to ask for money in front of Yun Jian, the director of new crews. This was because everyone in Xinjiang town knew that Yun Jian and Qin Yiru had completely severed all ties with the Yun family. In this case, even if the group of debt collectors came to Yun Jian to collect the debt, she would definitely not give it to them, because she no longer cared about Yun Jian's life. In spite of it, the debt collectors would not give up even if they could not get their hands on the money, so they shifted their attention to Yun Zheng. Yun Zheng was just an honest farmer who knew his place. Back when Qin Yiru was beaten up by a mistress, Yun Zheng had even stood up for Qin Yiru. When Qin Yiru wanted a divorce, Yun Zheng spoke up for her as well. One could say that Yun Zheng was a very good person. He would not have come to Yun Jian for help now anyway. However, Yun Zheng had a daughter. Due to Yun Gang's incident, the debt collectors had set their sights on Yun Zheng's daughter. They even threatened to kill their entire family if they did not pay up. If they could not pay up, they would sell their daughter, Yun Xiaoya, to brothels to make money to pay off the debt. His Yaya had just entered junior high school. Moreover, Yun Zheng was the innocent one who was implicated as well. Because he really couldn't find a way today, and tomorrow morning was the last time that the group of people gave him, Yun Zheng came here. Yun Zheng did not ask for anything else from Yun Jian. He only begged Yun Jian to save his daughter. That was all. Chapter 797. Yun Zheng didn't care about the other people sitting at the scene. He opened his mouth and told the whole story of the matter one by one. At the end of his speech, Yun Zheng was already smiling bitterly. The expression on his face was even more helpless. If it were not for the fact that he was out of options, Yun Zheng would not have come to Qin Yiru when they were having a party. She knew that Yun Zheng's family was innocent and Yun Jian knew that all of this was caused by her biological father, Yun Gang. Moreover, Yun Jian could search her memories and those of the original owner of her body that her uncle, Yun Zheng, had always treated her family well. Back then, when Qin Yiru was the sole breadwinner of Yun Jian and Yun Yi, Yun Zheng would even send some of his own fish to her family. Although the gift was insignificant, the kinship was still there. Unlike Yun Gang, who did not care about his own family matters. Xiao Jian, I'm really at my wit's end, that's why I'm begging you. I'm really begging you, save Yaya. She's my life, she's still so young. Yun Zheng thought that Yun Jian was unwilling to help him when she did not reply for some time. As Yun Zheng spoke, he was shaking all over. As he spoke, he slowly knelt down toward where Yun Jian was. As the saying went, kneel to the heavens, the earth, and your parents. However, Yun Zheng was really out of options. Due to Yun Gang's involvement, the deadline set by the debt collectors would be here soon. Yun Zhang's family was just farmers. How could they fork out so much money? Those people were asking for a total of 500,000 yuan. Was this not asking for Yun Zhang's life? In spite of it, Yun Zhang would rather die than watch his daughter being sold to a place like that. Seeing that Yun Zhang was about to kneel to her daughter, Qin Yiru could not help rushing over to stop Yun Zhang, who was about to kneel to Yun Jian. "Brother, what are you doing?" Qin Yiru asked as she pulled Yun Zhang, who was about to kneel to Yun Jian. Although Qin Yiru and Yun Gang were divorced, Yun Zhang was still the one who helped her when Qin Yiru was at her lowest. Qin Yiru would remember this favor for the rest of her life. Therefore, Qin Yiru treated Yun Zhang as her biological brother. Seeing him kneel to Yun Jian now, Qin Yiru could not bear it. "This bastard. I thought he's changed for the better, but he went gambling again." Qin Yiru closed her eyes. She no longer had feelings for Yun Gang, but they had been married for decades. It was impossible to say that she did not care. However, from Qin Yiru's words, it could be heard that she was completely disappointed in Yun Gang. When everyone heard this, especially Gu Junjian and Gu Yunjian's group of comrades, they could not help but sympathize with Qin Yiru's past situation and experiences. They sympathized with Yun Zhang for having such a brother. For a moment, Dong Weigua and the others who had a lower opinion of Qin Yiru because of Yun Zhang all sympathized with Yun Zhang and regained their opinion of Qin Yiru. Motherf *Ker, these bastards want to kill people in front of the People's Liberation Army. Dong Weigua slammed the table and stood up. He looked at Yun Zhang and guaranteed, "With me here, I'll see what those hooligans dare to do to you." As soon as Dong Weigua spoke, the other comrades of Gu Junjian all stood up to speak. At this moment, Yun Jian's voice was clearly heard, "You don't have to do anything. This is my family's matter." As Yun Jian spoke, she stood up and turned to look at Yun Zhang. "Nothing will happen to anyone in your family." Speaking of this, her eyes sharpened. "But Yun Gang, I once said that his life and death have nothing to do with me." Chapter 798. She was just a little girl. How could she say such harsh words? No matter what, Yun Jianchang was her biological father, right? How could she say that Yun Gang's life and death had nothing to do with her? Yun Jian had indeed said this before. Yun Gang's life and death had nothing to do with her. Yun Jian had already saved Yun Gang's life back then. She had also said that Yun Gang's life and death had nothing to do with her. Yun Jian was a person of her words. However, Yun Jian's behavior was very different from what she had said. Especially Dong Weigua and the others. In the beginning, Dong Weigua and the others thought that Yun Jian did not agree to the marriage between her mother and Gu Junjian. After all, if the child had an unbreakable bond with her biological father, after the parents divorced, if the mother wanted to remarry and wanted to have a child, the child would definitely be displeased. However, Gu Yunjian's group of comrades had guessed wrong. They were ridiculously wrong. When Yun Jian heard that something had happened to her biological father, not only was she not frightened, but she even said that his life and death had nothing to do with her. This was the first time Dong Weigua and the others had seen a little girl like Yun Jian. Therefore, at this moment, their hearts were fiercely shocked. Yun Gang was his younger brother. Although Yun Zhang did not want anything to happen to Yun Gang, he had no choice in this situation. It was already very good that Yun Jian was willing to help his family. A good gathering was interrupted before it started, but the people present did not say anything. Xiao Yunju and the other two continued to eat their own food. "I will help you solve this matter," Yun Jian said. Then, she turned to look at Yun Zhang and asked him, "Uncle, have you had dinner?" Yun Jian had agreed to help him solve this matter, so Yun Zhang's heart was a little relieved. Not yet. Yun Zhang's heart still had a lingering fear, but compared to his helplessness before, his emotions seemed to be much more stable now. "Sit down and have dinner together. I will ask the waiter to bring you a set of cutlery," Qin Yiru said as she called Yun Zhang to sit down together. In the end, Yun Zhang couldn't take it anymore. In addition, he still needed to explain the situation to Yun Jian in detail, so in the end, he just sat down. Gu Junjian was not angry because of Yun Zhang's appearance. In fact, the reason why Gu Junjian and Qin Yiru could be together was because of their mutual tolerance. Therefore, Gu Junjian also expressed his welcome to Yun Zheng, the brother of his wife's ex-husband who was about to marry him. Gu Junjian had heard about Yun Zheng from Qin Yiru. Qin Yiru said that when she was in the Yun family, Yun Zheng was the only one who was friendly to her and would often lend her a helping hand when she was in trouble. After that, Yun Zheng told Yun Jian that the deadline given by those who came to collect the debt was tomorrow morning. If he didn't have the money tomorrow morning, that group of people would directly snatch Yun Xiaoyao away. If they refused to give her the money, they would kill their entire family. Yun Jian said that she would help Yun Zheng's family, so naturally, she would help. Although there was that unpleasant episode with Yun Gang, Yun Zheng was an honest person. Not only did his participation not cause any awkwardness in the meal, but several of Gu Yunjian's comrades, Dong Weigua, and the others, chatted with Yun Zheng without restraint. They chatted about life. Beep! At this moment, Adam's phone suddenly rang. It was the sound of a text message. Adam raised his phone and looked at it. Then, his slender fingers typed a message on the phone and sent it out. After sending the message, Adam turned to look at Yun Jian. It was not good to call Yun Jian young madam in front of everyone, so Adam coughed lightly. Cough, Yun Jian, my friend is here. He's already at the door. Do you mind if he joins us? Yun Jian raised her eyebrows slightly. Xiao Dang's friend is here. Then why don't you hurry up and invite him in to eat together? Qin Yiru was very hospitable. Not long after Qin Yiru finished speaking, Shuang appeared at the door. Among the 4 leaders of an Hun group, Adam and Shuang were the closest. Chapter 799. Since the men's clothing that Shuang gave to Adam was snatched away by Ce, Shuang gave Adam a Rossini watch after that. Adam was still wearing the watch that Shuang had given him not long ago. Soon, Shuang appeared before them as expected. Shuang was rather handsome as well. Of course, if one were to ignore the huge scar on his neck that looked like it had been carved out by a knife, Shuang's looks might be even more outstanding than Adam's. In spite of it, such a handsome man was disgraced by the scar on his neck. But even with such a terrifying scar, the majority of men were not even half as good as Shuang. Shuang had been to Longmen City before, but he had never met Qin Yiru and the rest. Therefore, Shuang's appearance was a little shocking to everyone present. After all, the scar on his neck was too eye-catching. Quick, quick, quick. Come here. Why are you so slow? We're almost done. Adam hooked his index finger at Shuang from his seat. His irritating look was comparable to Ci's. Shuang did not say anything but followed Adam's lead. Heh, woman, I'm afraid you'll have to give up a seat. I want to sit with my good brother. Adam flicked Lan Su's hand lightly and said with a slight chuckle. When Lan Su heard this, she immediately turned her head and ignored Adam. Hey, woman, your temper's getting worse. Adam chuckled, but he was not really angry. I'll give up my seat for my new gidge. Xiao Yunju looked up at Adam obediently and stared at Shuang for 2 seconds before jumping down from his seat obediently. New gidge, of course, was Shuang. Before he could do so, Xiao Yunju's head was pressed down by Adam. Good boy, Xiao Yunju. There's no need for that, Adam said as he rubbed Xiao Yunju's head. In the end, Shuang took his seat beside Duan Li and Duanya, who were beside Xiao Yunju. Adam also introduced Shuang to everyone. His words were very concise. This is my sworn brother, Wang Er. Wang Er was something that Adam had randomly spouted out when Shuang was making up a name for himself. As expected, when the name Adam was spoken, Shuang's expression instantly darkened. Adam, on the other hand, was gloating. Snow Eagle was just a code name. Usually, when they showed themselves to others, they would give themselves a temporary name. On the other hand, Adam's name was more proper, and his name wasn't as shocking as Snow Eagle's. Shuang was the person directly in charge of an Hun organization. He was in charge of the internal affairs of the organization. Therefore, the name Shuang was known to most people in the underworld and the police. However, right after Adam introduced Shuang to the nickname he made up, before Shuang could say anything, Dong Weigua, who was sitting opposite him, said, "Wang Er, this is really a good name." This name was simply unbearable to look at. Dong Weigua still went against his conscience and said this sentence. Shuang pursed his lips. Yunjian curled her lips and snickered silently. After dinner, Yunjian rushed home first. Yunjian had already asked Zhang Jifan to arrange for someone to deal with that matter. Therefore, Yunjian didn't need to personally deal with it. This was because Adam casually gave himself the name Wang Er without asking for his permission. After Shuang finished his work, he came all the way from an Hun organization to look for him. However, he was mocked by Adam. Therefore, he ignored Adam all the way back. It was already 5:45 p.m. A group of people were already walking by the side of the road. Chapter 800. Zhang Xiaofeng basically did not call Yunjian, but Yunjian, Zhang Xiaofeng, and Qin Sini had saved each other's numbers. In 1999, the age of the internet was gradually entering the market. Rich tycoons had cell phones in their hands, and even the daughters and young masters of wealthy families had cell phones in their hands. When Qin Yiru first found out that Yunjian had a cell phone, she was also slightly shocked. After all, a cell phone was something that she could not even imagine owning in the past. However, if even new crews belonged to Yunjian, what else was impossible? Therefore, Qin Yiru accepted it as a matter of course. Yunjian was suspicious, but she quickly picked up the phone. Before Yunjian could speak, Zhang Xiaofeng's voice came from the other end of the phone. At that moment, Zhang Xiaofeng's voice was laced with a hint of irritation as if he did not know what to do. Master, I can't get through to Sini's phone. I've already called her 20 times and it's been ringing for almost 20 minutes, but she's still not picking up. I heard that you met a talent scout at the school gate yesterday. She left happily at 5 p.m. today and even said that she didn't want me to accompany her. Then, I made an appointment with her to call me when she arrived at Baiguang Model Agency to let me know that she's safe. However, she still didn't call me at 5:30 p.m. I panicked and kept calling her, but she's not picking up. Zhang Xiaofeng's voice trembled slightly. He tried his best to calm himself down as he explained everything clearly to Yunjian. Although Zhang Xiaofeng and Qin Sini usually bickered, he still cared a lot about Qin Sini during critical moments. Can't get through to her? Yunjian immediately stopped in her tracks and frowned when she heard Zhang Xiaofeng's explanation. Yes, Master, I don't know what to do. Do you think something will happen to Sini like the last time? Bah. There's no such thing. Master, Sini told me this morning that you know who the talent scout is. I'm worried about her. Can you help me find her? Zhang Xiaofeng was about to go crazy. This kind of entertainment company had a lot of inside stories. When some talent scouts tried to recruit newcomers to their companies, there would be all kinds of unspoken rules. Zhang Xiaofeng had repeatedly warned Qin Sini not to go alone, but she refused to listen. Therefore, Zhang Xiaofeng asked Qin Sini to call him when she arrived. However, after Qin Sini left, she didn't call Zhang Xiaofeng. On the other hand, Zhang Xiaofeng called Qin Sini more than 20 times, but Qin Sini did not answer any of them. This made Zhang Xiaofeng very anxious. It was then that Yunjian recalled that Zhao Jingmin who came to recruit her was a little strange. In spite of it, Yunjian did not think much of it back then. Moreover, Yunjian was not a mind reader, so she had no idea what Zhao Jingmin was really thinking. Xiao Jian, what's wrong? Qin Yiru turned to look at Yunjian when she stopped. Everyone was strolling on the streets as they had a full dinner, which helped with digestion. Mom, I have to go out for a bit, Yunjian told Qin Yiru after she got Zhang Xiaofeng to stay where he was and wait for her. With that, Yunjian sprinted to a small path on the side without even bidding farewell. Young. When Adam saw Yunjian running to the path, he wanted to call out to Yunjian to tell her that their young master was about to return to Longmen City, but Yunjian was already gone. This child is really... Qin Yiru could not help shaking her head and sighing as she watched Yunjian disappear. Chapter 801. After hearing Gu Yunjian's words, Qin Yiru didn't care anymore. She leaned against Gu Junjian and continued to walk with the others. Meanwhile, Yunjian was rushing towards Zhang Xiaofeng's place as fast as the wind. Yunjian ran towards the address Zhang Xiaofeng gave her. She saw Zhang Xiaofeng on the side of a big road. Other than that, there was another person standing beside Zhang Xiaofeng. This person was Zhang Jian from their class. Originally, after Chen Sini left with Zhao Jingmin, who claimed to be a talent scout, Zhang Xiaofeng and Zhang Jian went to Zhang Xiaofeng's uncle's taekwondo dojo to practice. Every Saturday, other than lunchtime, Zhang Xiaofeng would diligently train at the taekwondo dojo alone. Today, since Chen Sini said that she didn't need him to accompany her, he naturally went to the taekwondo dojo to practice. Of course, now that Zhang Xiaofeng had accepted Zhang Jian as his disciple, he might as well bring Zhang Jian along on Saturday. This way, he wouldn't be lonely. However, after waiting for a long time at the taekwondo dojo, he still didn't get a call from Chen Sini. Zhang Xiaofeng was a little anxious, so he called Chen Sini's phone first. However, after the call was made, no one picked up. Zhang Xiaofeng was a little suspicious, but he didn't think that something had happened. However, after calling more than 20 times, Chen Sini still didn't pick up. Zhang Xiaofeng was anxious. He hurriedly ran out with Zhang Jian and called Yunjian while running. Before Chen Sini left, she had told Zhang Xiaofeng that no matter what happened, when she arrived at Baiguang Model Agency, she had to call Zhang Xiaofeng to keep in touch. However, Chen Sini didn't call and couldn't pick up. What did this mean? Master, what should we do? When Zhang Xiaofeng saw Yunjian, he immediately ran over with Zhang Xiaofeng. At this time, Zhang Xiaofeng was so flustered that he was speechless. When he was talking to Yunjian on the phone just now, Zhang Xiaofeng was quite scared at that time, but he still pretended to be calm and explained the ins and outs of the matter clearly. Don't worry, Yunjian said as she took out her phone and called the Wuxia Mercenaries Intelligence Unit. The last time Qin Yiru went missing, it was a personal matter. The Wuxia Mercenaries Intelligence Group would not keep an eye on everyone. But this time, Yunjian wanted to investigate Baiguang Model Agency. Just as Yunjian asked, the intelligence group provided the address and sent all the information about Baiguang Model Agency to Yunjian's phone. It's at number 67, Shizi Road, East Street, Longmen City. It'll take about an hour to get there from here. Is there a car? Yunjian looked up to ask Zhang Xiaofeng. Zhang Jian, who was standing aside, was dumbfounded. It was because he did not know where Baiguang Model Agency was that Zhang Xiaofeng called Yunjian and was at a loss. But how did his Grandmaster Yunjian find out the exact location of Baiguang Model Agency with just a phone call? Yes, my house is nearby. I have a Santana sedan, Zhang Xiaofeng said. Lead the way. Run. Yunjian knew that there was no time to waste, so she spoke. Zhang Xiaofeng caught on quickly and so did Zhang Jian. When the three of them arrived at Zhang Xiaofeng's house, Zhang Jian, who finally caught up with them while panting, suddenly thought of a problem. The three of them were underage. Who would drive? Master, the key. Zhang Xiaofeng dashed into the house to retrieve the key and tossed it to Yunjian. Get in. Yunjian said and got into the driver's seat. Zhang Jian got into the car with Zhang Xiaofeng in a daze. Chapter 802. The moment Yunjian stepped on the accelerator and the car sped off, Zhang Jian's chubby face was blown out of shape by the wind because the car window was rolled down. Zhang Jian felt an unprecedented speed like he was riding a roller coaster in an amusement park. His heart almost stopped beating from the shock. Oh God, who could tell him why Yunjian was so fast? Zhang Xiaofeng was already used to Yunjian's style. He was only worried about Chen Sini's condition now. Therefore, to Zhang Xiaofeng, the faster Yunjian drove, the better. Yunjian's car was indeed fast. She drove at a speed of 100 miles per hour in the crowded downtown area. The car was like thunder and lightning, scaring the passers-by into retreating. An hour's walk, which was equivalent to a 20-minute car ride, would only take 5 minutes for Yunjian. Zhang Jian could still feel his legs shaking like springs even after he got out of the car. In spite of it, when he saw Yunjian and Zhang Xiaofeng walking toward the skyscraper in front of them after getting out of the car, he quickly followed them with his trembling body. Zhang Jian was plump and did not look like much, but he was quite fast. He was not as fast as Yunjian and Zhang Xiaofeng, but he was already considered fast among normal guys. Yunjian and Zhang Xiaofeng ran in front. It was a skyscraper that was more than 10 stories tall. It was already impressive to build a skyscraper with more than 10 stories in Longmen City in 1999. If one were to look at it from afar, there were a few golden words hanging on the roof of the skyscraper, Beiguang Model Agency. Yunjian and Zhang Xiaofeng were already at the entrance, but before they could enter, they were stopped by a receptionist who looked like a model. "I'm sorry, ordinary people aren't allowed in here." The receptionist extended her arm to stop Yunjian and Zhang Xiaofeng boldly. This kind of entertainment company usually didn't allow people other than the staff to enter. This was because there were still many artists in the entertainment company. Moreover, if there were non-staff members in the company, it would be troublesome if they were fans of a certain artist. Therefore, ordinary people were usually not allowed to enter this place. Unless they were here for an audition or were brought in by someone who worked here, like Xiao Jingmin. Zhang Jian stood at the back and watched. He suddenly felt a little anxious. He had just found the place and was blocked. He couldn't enter. Just as Zhang Jian was thinking about this, Yunjian's cold voice sounded, "Get out of the way." "I'm sorry, I'm just being fair," the lady said. Yunjian lifted her leg and used her knee to kick the hostess's abdomen. After being kicked by Yunjian, the hostess fell to one side. Taking advantage of this gap, Yunjian shouted to Zhang Xiaofeng, who was standing behind her in a daze, and Zhang Xiaofeng, who was used to her style, "Let's go." With that, the three of them stepped inside. Security. Security. Someone forced their way in. The hostess shouted as she held her stomach. Her tone towards Yunjian just now was neither cold nor warm. Now that she was kicked, she hated Yunjian even more. For a place like Beiguang Model Agency, they naturally hired a lot of staff and security guards. They were afraid that troublemakers would come looking for trouble. Therefore, in a short while, a large group of tall and strong security guards appeared in front of Yunjian and the other two. "Where did this little girl come from? How dare you cause trouble here? Get out of here!" The leader of the security guards shouted at Yunjian. At the same time, he waved the stun baton in his hand. Zhang Jian looked at the security guards with stun batons and immediately shrank back in fear. Chapter 803. With that, a butterfly knife appeared in Yunjian's hand. Yunjian had just bought the butterfly knife and had yet to use it. Today, she would use it on the security guards. F***CK. Zhang Jian could not help but exclaim softly when he saw Yunjian pulling out a knife. However, he quickly reacted. Yunjian was prepared. She had a knife with her at all times. This made Zhang Jian proud. His grandmaster was indeed the killing god of Team Monarch. Even her posture was so cool. However, Zhang Jian still glanced at Yunjian worriedly. Although Yunjian had a butterfly knife in her hand, the security guards had electric batons in their hands. These batons were electrified. As long as it came into contact with the power source, although it would not kill the person who was hit would feel a strong electric shock. After that, the person would feel numb and weak all over, losing the ability to move in an instant. Even if Yunjian was superhuman, she would not be able to avoid this. Therefore, Zhang Jian was still very worried. Moreover, there were so many security guards. With so many security guards surrounding Yunjian, no matter how powerful Yunjian was, there was no guarantee that she would not be hit, right? Just as Zhang Jian was thinking about this, one of the security guards growled, F***ck, this young lady even has a knife. Isn't she looking for trouble? The security guard who was the leader then shouted at Yunjian, young lady, put down the knife and leave with your friends. Then, we won't make things difficult for you. Otherwise, don't blame us for being rude. With that, the security guard turned on the switch of the electric baton in his hand. Once the switch was turned on, the electric shock head of the electric baton immediately sizzled. In fact, the security guard was also afraid of the butterfly knife in Yunjian's hand. After all, if Yunjian were to stab randomly, there were only a few security guards present. He could easily get stabbed. Moreover, it was not easy to find a job. The security guard's salary was very low. If he were to lose his life for such a meager salary, would it not be worth it? Therefore, the security guard turned on the power switch of the stun baton in his hand. His purpose was to intimidate Yunjian and Yunjian so that they could leave on their own. We will not leave. Unless you hand over my cousin. Zhang Xiaofeng glared at the group of security guards in front of him. He was so angry that his teeth itched and his whole body trembled. At the thought that something might have happened to Qin Sini, Zhang Xiaofeng felt a lingering fear. He also hated himself for not coming with Qin Sini. If something bad really happened to him, then how was his cousin going to live? The leader of the security guards immediately knew what was going on. Their company's talent scouts loved to abduct beautiful and gullible girls to come over for auditions. In fact, on the surface, it was said to be a film and TV series, but in fact, it was filming something that could not be described in words. Moreover, there were unspoken rules in the company that everyone was aware of. Usually, when the group of talent scouts tricked the girls into coming in, if the girls were not obedient, they would probably be done directly. In the end, they would even film a video to force the girls to comply. Otherwise, they would be exposed. The security guards all knew about these things. However, they were all low-class people who worked for a salary. Naturally, they could only pretend that they did not know. Where did your cousin come from? This is Baiguang Model Agency. The person you are looking for is not here. Go, 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 all of you, get out. The leader of the security guards walked over with the electric baton turned on. Chapter 804. You. The leader of the security guards had a big body and a thick waist, and he was holding a stun baton. However, when he saw Yunjian walking towards him with a butterfly knife in her hand, he couldn't help but twitch violently. Don't come over. Little girl, I'm telling you, if you come over again, don't blame me for being rude. The security guard said as he took 2 steps back and tightened his grip on the stun baton. Judging from the security guard's appearance and disposition, it was obvious that he was quite afraid of the knife in Yunjian's hand. Seeing Yunjian walking slowly towards the company's internal elevator, the security guards didn't dare to go forward. Instead, they were forced back by Yunjian. There were many staff members walking around in Baiguang Model Agency. When they saw Yunjian and the other 2 rush in, they couldn't help but stop and watch. However, most of them stood far away. There were many models and artists in Baiguang Model Agency. Generally, famous models and artists wouldn't appear here. Therefore, those who could stand and watch were mostly unknown people. At this moment, these people were all standing far away. Everyone was watching the situation from afar. Some of them were even faintly shocked. Many of the unknown models and artists present were tricked into the agency like Qin Sini and were forced to sign the contract. Therefore, these people stood far away and watched Yunjian holding the knife slowly walk towards the security guards who had begun to retreat and surrounded Yunjian and the other 2 in a semicircle. It wasn't hard to see that Yunjian and the other 2 were here to look for someone. The 3 people's friend was most likely a little girl who was tricked into the agency like some other models and artists. Although Yunjian was holding the knife and forcing the security guards to retreat, Yunjian only had 1 knife in her hand. The security guards were holding stun batons in their hands. As long as someone was touched by them, they would lose all their strength. Did this little girl really have the ability to dodge the stun batons in the hands of these security guards? This little girl is so pretty. It's a pity that she's brainless. How dare she come to Baiguang and cause trouble? It's not like no one has come to cause trouble before, but every time, they were all beaten up and chased out. Some staff members were already standing in the distance and whispering to each other. Isn't that so? How can anyone who enters Baiguang leave? In the end, he was still forced to be naked. A soft conversational voice could be heard. The voice paused for a moment, then continued gossiping to the people around him. I heard that a little girl came to Baiguang a while ago, right? She thought that we could really shoot movies and dramas here, but in the end, she was so desperate that she had to take off all her clothes to film. The words that followed were self-evident. The employees of Baiguang actually knew what kind of company this was. But even if they knew, for people like them who were paid, it was naturally better to avoid unnecessary trouble. They would not bother if they could. At this moment, the leading security guard waved to the other 4 security guards beside him. Obviously, Yun Jian, who was standing at the front, seemed to be more difficult to deal with, so they planned to face Yun Jian and the other 2 to deal with Yun Jian. As for the other 2 security guards, they were going to subdue Zhang Xiaofeng and Zhang Jian respectively. The 2 security guards standing at the side pounced on Zhang Xiaofeng and Zhang Jian respectively. The 3 security guards in front waved their stun batons at the same time and ran toward Yun Jian. Chapter 805. The 2 security guards had already taken the initiative to attack Zhang Xiaofeng and Zhang Jian. Zhang Jian had never encountered such a situation before. If Zhang Jian was considered a bully in school, then he was nothing once he left school. Therefore, when he saw the 2 security guards surrounding them, Zhang Xiaofeng pulled Zhang Jian away and confronted the 2 security guards. Zhang Xiaofeng had learned martial arts from Yun Jian for a long time. Although his current ability was not enough to fight against high-level Secret Service assassins, he could still deal with the 2 security guards. However, the main reason was that Zhang Xiaofeng did not have a weapon in his hand. Otherwise, the 2 security guards would not be able to do anything to Zhang Xiaofeng. Therefore, Zhang Xiaofeng could only use the method that Yun Jian taught him to dodge the attacks of the 2 security guards. Zhang Xiaofeng planned to keep the 2 security guards from approaching him. He planned to wait until he found the weakness of the 2 security guards, then he would attack and win with one move. Zhang Jian was pulled away by Zhang Xiaofeng, but he was very worried about Zhang Xiaofeng and Yun Jian. Therefore, he shouted, "Master, Grandmaster, be careful." However, just as Zhang Jian shouted, he saw a figure in front of him. He saw that the 3 security guards who were approaching Yun Jian were still slowly approaching Yun Jian. At the same time, the 3 security guards had already turned on the electric batons in their hands. Just as the 3 security guards were carefully approaching Yun Jian suddenly turned sideways and ran 2 steps towards the 3 security guards. After running 2 steps, Yun Jian suddenly fell down. Zhang Jian almost wanted to cry out in alarm. However, it was also at this moment that Zhang Jian saw Yun Jian's actions clearly. How was this falling down? Yun Jian had just made a move of falling on her butt. However, before her butt touched the ground, she used her left hand to support herself on the ground. This left hand supported the ground and lifted Yun Jian's entire body. Under the watchful eyes of Zhang Jian and the staff standing far away, Yun Jian tilted the gravity on her left hand and stretched out her bent leg as fast as she could. At this time, the 3 security guards had just arrived in front of Yun Jian. Before the 3 security guards could react, Yun Jian had already stretched out her long legs and used her strength to hook the 3 security guards heavily onto the ground. As soon as Yun Jian hooked the 3 security guards, she had already stood up and ran in the direction where Zhang Xiaofeng was struggling to deal with the other 2 security guards. As for the 3 security guards who tried to hit Yun Jian with the stun baton, they fell to the ground with their heads hitting the ground. The 3 security guards were holding stun batons in their hands, and the stun batons were switched on. The moment the 3 security guards fell to the ground, their hands went limp, so the stun batons fell from their hands and the stun batons heavily hit their own bodies. Zizi, the 3 security guards were immediately hit by the stun batons. Their bodies went limp and they could no longer move. However, Yunjian's move just now was enough to shock everyone. How could this little girl be so powerful? 3 security guards were all subdued by her in an instant. Just when everyone thought of this, a beautiful voice suddenly sounded in their ears. Get out of the way. Yunjian let out a sigh. She had already run toward the 2 security guards who were trying to stun Zhang Xiaofeng. When Zhang Xiaofeng heard Yunjian's voice, he immediately stepped back. Yunjian took over Zhang Xiaofeng's position and confronted the 2 security guards. Yunjian ran 2 steps in that direction. Suddenly, her whole body jumped slightly. In the next second, under everyone's astonished gaze, she jumped up. After Yunjian jumped up, she somersaulted in the air and stabbed the 2 security guards' hearts with the butterfly knife in her hand. Chapter 806. Zhang Jian, including the staff who were watching from afar, was dumbfounded. This young lady is too amazing. She only used less than 10 seconds to take on 5 people alone. Just as everyone was in shock, one of the staff noticed the 2 security guards' chests. Look at their chests. That's... When someone shouted, everyone else shifted their gaze to the 2 security guards who were sent flying by Yunjian's kick. What happened? At this moment, everyone present turned their heads to look in confusion. Yunjian's butterfly knife slid across their chests, right in the middle of their hearts. There was a hole in their uniform. Although the hole was not particularly eye-catching, if one were to take a closer look, they would realize that the hole was right in front of their hearts. If Yunjian had only hit one security guard's chest when she swung the butterfly knife, everyone present might have thought it was a coincidence. However, she had hit both security guards' hearts at the same time. If Yunjian had stabbed the 2 security guards' chests when she swung the butterfly knife, then these 2 security guards were dead for sure. Everyone present was completely shocked by the scene in front of them. Even Zhang Jian sucked in a breath of cold air. In comparison, Zhang Jian knew Yunjian's identity. At that moment, Zhang Jian only wanted to clap for Yunjian. Team Monarch's slashing god lived up to her name. Zhang Jian swore that he would brag to his classmates when he returned to school. Just the thought of it made him excited. The 2 security guards who were lying on the ground felt a chill in their chests. When they got up from the ground, they realized that their uniform had been cut open by Yunjian's butterfly knife. It was then that the 2 security guards felt their hair stand on end. Let's go. Yunjian did not care about the shock around her. She closed the butterfly knife with a flip of her hand. Her expression was calm. She did not even turn around as she spoke to Zhang Xiaofeng and Zhang Jian behind her. With that, Yunjian walked toward the elevator. After what Yunjian had done just now, who would dare to stop her? Clap, clap. There really were people who stood out to stop them, only to hear 2 claps. A fashionably dressed man walked out of the corridor next to the elevator. As soon as the man appeared, he stood in front of Yunjian, not letting her pass. This man had a good figure. He was tall, handsome, and had a high nose bridge. He was obviously an idol. However, this was indeed the case. Ah! Oh my God! Am I seeing things? That's Li Hang. I'm not dreaming, am I? Ah! I actually saw Li Hang. It really is him. It's him in person. I've long heard that he's an artist from our company, but I've never seen him in our company. Today, I finally get to see him in person. As soon as this fashionably dressed man with short black curly hair appeared, the female staff members who were originally in a state of watching the show completely lost their voices and screamed. Yunjian frowned. Girl, just now, you were really amazing. The man who was being chased by the crowd was called Li Hang. At this moment, Li Hang was looking at Yunjian with interest. Li Hang was an artist from Baiguang Model Agency. Now, because of a TV series that was broadcast some time ago, he became popular all over the country. She was one of the hottest new celebrities at the moment. The scene of Yunjian knocking down a few security guards just now made Li Hang even more interested. Thus, he stood in front of Yun Jian and looked at her with a wicked smile. Yun Jian, who had caught Li Hang's attention, was the envy of all the girls present. Chapter 807. As Yun Jian spoke, she planned to walk around Li Hang and head for the elevator. Zhang Xiaofeng and Yun Jian followed Yun Jian to the elevator. The more time they wasted, the more danger Chen Sini would be in. Actually, even if she didn't say it, Yun Jian and the other two would definitely be able to guess where Chen Sini had been taken and what she would do after disappearing for such a long time. Hearing Yun Jian tell Li Hang to scram, some of the staff present couldn't hold it in anymore. Especially some of Li Hang's female fans, who rushed over after hearing Yun Jian's words. How dare you be so rude to our Heng Heng? Damn woman, don't think that you can play hard to get just because you're pretty. Our Heng Heng will never fall for you. How dare you insult my favorite idol like this? Go to hell. A large group of staff rushed over, as if they wanted to show off in front of Li Hang. They blocked the elevator and refused to let Yun Jian pass. Yun Jian was beautiful to begin with. Her fair and supple skin paired with her curvy figure that was perfectly proportioned. Any man who saw her could not help having the urge to have her all to himself. Li Hang, who was standing on the second floor where the staff were not allowed to enter, came down because he was completely captivated by Yun Jian. One reason why Li Hang came downstairs was because of Yun Jian, and another reason was that he enjoyed the feeling of being the center of attention. He also knew that he was very outstanding. Because of the recent TV series, he had indeed become popular. So, when he saw Yun Jian's actions just now, his interest was doubled, and he wanted to go downstairs and flirt with her. However, he didn't expect her to tell him to scram. Ever since he debuted, Li Hang had always thought that he was handsome. His facial features were surprisingly well-defined and manly, and he was the most popular look for girls. However, Yun Jian actually told him to scram. This was a serious blow to Li Hang's self-esteem. A group of female staff members, who were also Li Hang's female fans, blocked Yun Jian's path in order to express themselves. They didn't want to let Yun Jian pass. Li Hang, on the other hand, felt that he looked very handsome as he ran his fingers through his hair. He walked up to Yun Jian again and spoke to Yun Jian. Hey, little girl, I've seen too many of your tricks. Tell me, are you my fan? She probably came here to get my autograph too, right? You were too fierce just now. In order to get an autograph from me, you actually hit the guard. Heh, but since you're chasing me like this, I'll give you an autograph. As he spoke, Li Hang lazily took out a marker from his trouser pocket. He deliberately made this lazy pose, which caused many female fans present to scream. Little girl, where do you want to sign? Did he sign on your clothes? Li Hang said as he reached out his hand. He stared at Yun Jian's voluptuous breasts for 2 seconds and was about to reach out to Yun Jian. Just as Yun Jian was about to make a move, a slender, fair, and well-defined hand grabbed Li Hang's hand that was about to touch the corner of Yun Jian's clothes. Yun Jian turned her head and saw that Ce had already appeared here. At this moment, Ce's hand was grabbing Li Hang's wrist and twisting it. Crack. There was the crisp sound of bones breaking. Li Hang was suddenly pierced by this heart-wrenching pain, and he was suddenly drenched in sweat. Chapter 808. Ce, who had suddenly appeared, grabbed Li Hang's wrist and ruthlessly broke it. When the people present saw this scene, they were all shocked to the point of astonishment. With the crisp crack just now, it was obvious that Li Hang's wrist had been completely broken. Li Hang, who had his wrist broken, held his hand and took 3 steps back in pain. At this moment, Li Hang felt a piercing pain. Who was it? Who dared to speak to him in such a tone? Didn't the other party know that he was the superstar Li Hang? How dare he treat him like this and say such things? Wasn't he afraid of being beaten up by his fans? Li Hang immediately looked up and saw a handsome face that angered both men and gods. Ce's facial features were just right. His handsome face gave people a feeling of disbelief, and his spirited eyes were so deep that they seemed to be bottomless. Even Li Hang, who who was also a man, couldn't help but tremble when he saw them. Moreover, Li Hang was at most 175 meters tall. He relied entirely on his looks to support himself. Usually, he relied on this delicate and handsome face to abduct girls everywhere. There were many male celebrities who were taller than Li Hang, but there weren't many celebrities who were more handsome than him. Therefore, with this handsome face that he thought was not bad, Li Hang also attracted a large number of female fans. Some time ago, he even made the headlines and became the target of everyone's adoration. Of course, this was all before he met CE. If it was in the past, how could these female fans still sit still when they saw their idol's wrist broken? This was their idol. Just as these female fans raised their heads and were about to flare up, they saw CE's shockingly handsome face. For a moment, all the vulgarities that were about to come out of their mouths were all swallowed back down. CE and Li Hang weren't on the same level at all. Moreover, CE was not only half a head taller than Li Hang, but CE's appearance also surpassed 10 or 100 Li Hangs. This made Li Hang suffer a huge loss. This was especially true for Li Hang, who had always prided himself on his good looks. Now that he had suddenly met someone who was taller and more handsome than him, Li Hang's heart immediately sank to the bottom of the valley. In the entertainment industry, people were judged by their looks. Why are you here? However, before Yun Jian could finish her sentence, CE held her hand and led her to the elevator. Zhang Xiaofeng, who was behind them, was about to go crazy. When he saw CE holding Yun Jian's hand and walking forward, he hurriedly followed without a word. Zhang Jian also had eyes. Although he didn't know who CE was, he quickly followed her. As soon as CE appeared, he attracted the attention of most of the women. However, due to CE's cold expression and handsome face, which looked like he would kill anyone who dared to stop him, no one present dared to stop CE. When CE pulled Yun Jian over, the female fans who were blocking Yun Jian's way couldn't help but step aside and look at CE with infatuated eyes. Li Hang glared at CE with hatred. At the same time, he looked at Yun Jian with infatuation as she disappeared into the elevator. At this moment, Yun Jian had already entered the elevator with CE. However, at this moment, Zhang Xiaofeng and Zhang Jian were still standing in the narrow elevator. As soon as they entered the elevator and the doors closed, Yun Jian said to Zhang Xiaofeng, who was standing by the elevator button, 5th floor. Chapter 809. 5th floor, waiting room. Rewind time to 20 minutes ago. Chen Sini had been waiting in the waiting room on the 5th floor for almost half an hour. There were 5 or 6 girls waiting with her. All of them had great figures, great skin, and outstanding looks. Chen Sini's hands were intertwined. She was very worried that she wouldn't be chosen. There was a door in front of the waiting room. Behind the door was the audition room. She heard that the audition was like filming. There would even be a cameraman beside her to record her movements. Zhao Jingmin said that as an actress, she had to look like she was on camera at all times. Therefore, Chen Sini was very nervous at this moment. As the waiting room was too noisy, Zhao Jingmin requested Chen Sini to temporarily confiscate all her belongings other than her clothes when she entered the waiting room. Chen Sini originally wanted to call Zhang Xiaofeng to tell him that she was safe, but now that her phone was confiscated, she couldn't contact Zhang Xiaofeng at all. Creak, the door of the audition room was opened again. A girl ran out crying as if she had been greatly wronged. Because the waiting room and the audition room were not connected, Chen Sini, who was sitting in the waiting room, couldn't hear the sound of the audition room at all. But then again, how could she hear the contents of the audition? And the girl who ran out just now probably didn't get chosen again. Chen Sini took a deep breath and secretly cheered herself on. When she thought about how Zhang Xiaofeng would look at her with admiration if she succeeded in the audition and got a supporting role, Chen Sini felt excited all over. Where's number 16? At this moment, someone walked out of the audition room and shouted at the door. Chen Sini was number 16. Chen Sini had been looking at her number for a long time, so when she heard someone say her number, she quickly stood up and said, "It's me." come in." The man who came out to greet them scanned Chen Sini from head to toe with an unscrupulous gaze and said, "Yeah, yeah." Chen Sini had been waiting for a long time. When she heard that it was her turn, she excitedly followed him in. The moment Chen Sini entered the audition room, the man who had called Chen Sini in locked the door. When Chen Sini saw that the man had locked the door, she couldn't help but turn around to take a look. She felt a little strange in her heart. However, Chen Sini didn't think too much about it. When she walked over, she even looked around. How strange. Why were the doors and windows of this place tightly shut? But Chen Sini didn't think too much about it. "Come here, Xiao Yi, come here." Zhao Jingmin, who had been sitting there for a long time, waved at Chen Sini affectionately. Chen Sini walked over. There were a few invigilators sitting there, and these invigilators all had shifty eyes. When they saw him enter, these invigilators kept looking at him. Chen Sini felt very uncomfortable, but she still walked over. "Xiao Yi, it's so hot here. Aren't you going to take off your jacket? Look, I'm only wearing a short-sleeved shirt. It's too hot. Don't let it affect your performance," Zhao Jingmin said affectionately. His small eyes narrowed into slits, but they were sizing up Chen Sini. Chapter 8:10. "Aya, take it off. What are you afraid of? We're all on the same side." Zhao Jingmin walked over and helped Chen Sini take off her jacket. Chen Sini had a short-sleeved shirt inside, and it was a pink girl-style shirt. When they were on the phone, Chen Sini knew that Yun Jian would be wearing pink today, so she specially put on a jacket that was very similar to Yun Jian's. Chen Sini even said that she wanted to borrow some of Yun Jian's luck to pass the audition today. Everyone's eyes widened when they saw Chen Sini wearing a pink short-sleeved shirt. Chen Sini naturally didn't notice this. "That's more like it," Zhao Jingmin said and even patted Chen Sini's beautiful back affectionately, causing Chen Sini's entire body to stiffen. "All right, Xiao Yi, hurry up and go over." Zhao Jingmin wanted to pat Chen Sini's beautiful back again, but this time, Chen Sini dodged it without leaving a trace. Chen Sini answered ambiguously and walked in that direction. She didn't know why, but Zhao Jingmin's pat just now made her feel uncomfortable all over. "Over here, over here." One of the invigilators who was sitting in his seat waved his hand at Chen Sini evilly. Chen Sini gritted her teeth and suppressed the disgust in her heart. In the end, she still walked over. "You may begin," one of the invigilators, who was bald and shifty-eyed, said. "This is your male counterpart. His name is Su Song." At this moment, Zhao Jingmin had already walked over and introduced a man who could be considered handsome to Chen Sini. Although this man could be considered handsome, judging from his age, if he wasn't 40, he was at least in his 30s. "Hello." Chen Sini greeted him very politely. This man also responded. "These are your audition lines. There are only 3 short lines, you can remember them without memorizing them." At this moment, Zhao Jingmin handed Chen Sini a piece of paper with the script on it. "The rest will depend on your performance on the spot," Zhao Jingmin then reminded her. At this moment, Chen Sini took the script in her hands and stared at it for a while. This script. Chen Sini just glanced at it and she was shocked by the words on it. There were only 3 lines written on it: Don't touch, I beg you." If Chen Sini still didn't know what was going on, then she would have lived life for the past 10 years in vain. This was basically filming that kind of film. "What's wrong? Can we begin? This is such a good opportunity, you have to seize this opportunity. Who knows? If you're, I'm. Eyes, I'm. Eyes. I don't want to film anymore, I want to go home." Chen Sini was at a loss as she blushed and said to the people present. Then, she was about to run out of the door. However, just as Chen Sini ran 2 steps towards the door, Zhao Jingmin grabbed her clothes and stopped Chen Sini. F***ck, I'm talking to you peacefully and you don't want to listen, right? Zhao Jingmin said as he slapped Chen Sini to the ground. Su Song, get her. Strip her naked. This woman dares to challenge me. Zhao Jingmin immediately shouted as if he had changed into a different person. Su Song ran over and pinned Chen Sini down on the sofa after hearing that. Chapter 8:11. The directors and invigilators sitting around seemed to be used to Su Song and Zhao Jingmin's actions. At this moment, these people were staring at Chen Sini with naked eyes, as if waiting for Chen Sini to be stripped naked. Get lost. Get lost. Chen Sini had been with Yun Jian for so long. Although she was not so weak that she could be trampled on, she was still no match for the man in front of her. After all, there was a huge difference between the physical strength of an ordinary man and a woman. However, when Su Song threw Chen Sini onto the sofa, Chen Sini was still able to stretch out her leg and kick away Su Song, who was about to pounce on her and take off her clothes. At this moment, Chen Sini wanted to tear Zhao Jingmin and the others into pieces. At this moment, she was very regretful. How could she really believe Zhao Jingmin's words? No wonder those girls were crying with their heads down when they left. So. Photographer, take a picture of her whole body. Damn, this little girl has grown up. She wants to leave. Hee, does she think that our Baiguang is a place where she can come and go as she pleases? Today, you have to be naked even if you don't want to. Do you think I'll let you do whatever you want? Zhao Jingmin changed his friendly appearance from before. At this moment, he was like a villain who had revealed his true colors, making people extremely disgusted. Get lost. Chen Sini kicked Su Song's crotch hard. Su Song howled when Chen Sini suddenly kicked his groin. F***ck. Su Song was on the verge of exploding. F***ck your sister, Su Song, are you eating sh**t? You can't even handle ab**tch. Hurry up and do it. Zhao Jingmin saw that Su Song had not taken off Chen Sini's clothes after being kicked by Chen Sini for so long. He spat out a mouthful of vulgarities and was about to take action himself. Actually, Baiguang Model Agency was an entertainment company on the surface. In fact, it was indeed an entertainment company. However, Baiguang was just a model agency. Basically, the company was made up of models, and those models were only promoted because of the unspoken rules. Other than that, they made money by shooting nude films. Of course, if they knew that they were filming this kind of film, who would be willing to film it? Therefore, Zhao Jingmin and his group came up with this idea. They used the Baiguang Model Agency's name to recruit a large group of young girls who were interested in acting and brought them here for an audition. In the audition, if the young lady was willing to obediently submit after a few words of persuasion, everyone would be happy. However, if he met a disobedient girl like Chen Sini during the audition, he would directly strip her naked. From her toes to every part of her body. If she still refused to listen to him, he would have Su Song deal with her directly. If he recorded the entire process, would the little girl dare to be disobedient? If she was still disobedient, he would send all these videos to her school. Reality proved that there was no girl who wasn't afraid of these things being exposed. Therefore, with these recordings, they would do whatever Zhao Jingmin wanted them to do. Even the young ladies who had been recorded by Zhao Jingmin and the others were forcefully raped by Zhao Jingmin and the others. Not only that, but those young girls were also asked to take a lot of nude photos and post them on certain websites for sale. Their methods were quite cruel, enough to ruin the life of an innocent young lady. Chen Sini struggled crazily as she sat up. At this moment, Chen Sini only had one word in her mind: run. She must escape. Otherwise, she would rather die. Damned woman, run. Still running. Let's see how you can run. Zhao Jingmin grabbed Chen Sini's clothes and gave her another hard slap. Chen Sini was slapped hard. These two slaps had already bruised her face. Chapter 8:12. Chen Sini's kick landed squarely on Zhao Jingmin's abdomen, causing him to fall to the ground from the sudden force. Chen Sini ignored the pain on her face as she kicked Zhao Jingmin away and tried to run towards the door. Open the door. As long as she opened the door, the girls outside would hear her. As long as someone ran out, she would be saved. Chen Sini only wanted to run now. She ran with all her might. F***CK. How dare you kick me? UB*TCH, I'm going to F***CK you to death today. Zhao Jingmin, who was kicked to the ground by Chen Sini, howled in pain. After standing up, Zhao Jingmin cursed and ran towards Chen Sini with a gloomy face. Chen Sini quickly reached the door with her slender legs. As soon as she reached the door, she reached out her hand and grabbed the door handle. Just as she grabbed the doorknob, she felt someone fiercely pull her clothes and violently drag her back. Zhao Jingmin's strength was very rough. He dragged Chen Sini all the way and threw Chen Sini onto the sofa. Ah! Chen Sini punched and kicked Zhao Jingmin crazily again. UB*TCH, I'm going to F***CK you to death right now. Zhao Jingmin said as he unbuckled his belt and walked towards Chen Sini. F***CK off. F***CK off. I'm going to kill you. Chen Sini wished that she had Yunjian's strength. That way, she wouldn't be so helpless. At this moment, Chen Sini's eyes were filled with despair. She now regretted coming here with Zhao Jingmin and even handing over her phone. She knew that Yunjian was still having dinner at the hotel, so she definitely didn't know that she would encounter such a thing. Chen Sini bit her lips hard at the thought of this, causing her to bleed, but she did not let her tears fall. Chen Sini was prepared to die when she saw Zhao Jingmin unbuckling his belt and walking towards her. She saw a vase not far from her. UB*TCH, I'm going to F***CK you. Zhao Jingmin said as he pounced on Chen Sini. At this moment, Chen Sini suddenly pounced towards a long table in the distance. What is she doing? One of the invigilators saw this and couldn't help but exclaim. Quick! Stop her! At this moment, Yunjian and the others had just walked out of the elevator. Ce was holding Yunjian's hand. Zhang Xiaofeng was already used to it, while Zhang Jian was shocked and silent. He was wondering what kind of man was worthy of Yun's. Wasn't he here? Although he didn't know who he was, he could still feel his. It was enough to make everyone around him tremble. If one were to ask how Ce could find Yunjian, it was because Yunjian had her phone with her at all times. As long as one knew the program, it wasn't difficult to track Yunjian's phone. The Inhun organization was full of talents, how could they not find out such a small thing? Moreover, Yunjian didn't install an anti-intrusion system, so Ce could easily find out her location. This is the 5th floor, it feels so quiet and empty. Master, where is Sini? Zhang Xiaofeng was anxious as soon as he stepped out of the elevator. Turn left right at the end, and you'll reach the waiting room, Yunjian said. Then, Yunjian and the others ran in that direction. The Baiguang Model Agency's building was indeed huge. The 5th floor was a photography studio for models to shoot advertisements, so it took up a lot of space. At the same time, every room was soundproof, and there was no one in the corridor, so it felt very quiet. Chapter 8:13. Yunjian and the rest didn't waste any time. Everyone knew that the faster they ran, the safer Chen Sini would be. When they went around the blind spot, they saw a mysterious door that was half open. There was a guard standing next to the door. The guard looked around from time to time. When he saw Yunjian and the rest, he obviously trembled violently, as if he had been caught red-handed. Damn it! There must be a ghost. Zhang Xiaofeng growled and quickly ran forward with Yunjian and the rest. Stop! This is the audition venue. Unauthorized personnel are not allowed to enter. The guard standing guard at the door like a thief stopped Yunjian and the rest when he saw them running towards him. Baiguang Model Agency had its own rules. Some places were off-limits to staff members, while others were off-limits to outsiders. However, just by looking at the eyes of the gatekeeper who was guarding the door and not letting anyone in, it could be seen that the gatekeeper didn't want anyone to enter. Otherwise, it was just an audition venue. There wouldn't be guards standing guard at the door. Get lost. Zhang Xiaofeng ran in front. Whenever he thought that something might happen to Chen Sini, he would kick the guard's abdomen. You. The guard had just come back to his senses when he was kicked away by Zhang Xiaofeng. Zhang Xiaofeng's outburst was terrifying. Yun Jian narrowed her eyes. Her apprentice indeed had potential. The gatekeeper who was sent flying by Zhang Xiaofeng's kick almost spat out a mouthful of blood. At that moment, the guard's heart was about to break down. Zhang Xiaofeng took the lead and opened the mysterious door. Yun Jian and Ce followed suit. Zhang Jian was the last to run. Just as he was about to enter the mysterious door, he suddenly stopped and looked at the guard who was kicked away by Zhang Xiaofeng. Suddenly, he became interested. Then, Zhang Jian's fat body slammed onto the guard's body. Zhang Jian cursed, "I'll crush you to death, I'll crush you to death. Hey, take this." As soon as he finished speaking, Zhang Jian's butt slammed into the guard's abdomen. Before the gatekeeper could even react from the pain of being kicked away, Zhang Jian's fat body, which weighed at least 160 to 17 kilograms, landed on top of him in the next second. At that moment, the guard fainted on the spot. At that moment, Yun Jian, Ce, and Ce had already entered the waiting room. Why isn't it done yet? We've been waiting for so long. When they arrived at the waiting room, Yun Jian saw 4 to 5 girls sitting there. They looked to be about the same age as Chen Sini. One of them was chatting with a girl beside her. The audition takes at least 20 minutes. I really don't know what's going on inside. It's so boring to wait. It's already good enough that we have the chance to audition. You should be content. 2 girls were chatting by the side. When Yun Jian, Ce, and Ce walked in, the 4 to 5 girls present all looked over. When they saw Ce, their faces instantly flushed red. "Ah, you guys, are you here for the audition too?" One of the 2 girls who were chatting shyly looked at Ce. She immediately abandoned the other girl and ran over. "Have you seen a girl? She's this tall. She has 2 ponytails and is wearing a pink top. Her smile is very sweet." Zhang Xiaofeng stood out and asked urgently. In order to look unique today, Chen Sini purposely tied 2 ponytails and wore a pink top. She looked very cute. Chapter 8:14. After saying that, the girl who saw Ce blush shyly glanced at Ce. Even though Ce had not spoken a word throughout the conversation and his gaze was fixed on Yun Jian could not help but feel a sense of relief. These girls would still keep their eyes glued to Ce. It could not be helped. After all, Ce's looks were too striking. Sit down and wait for a while. She will definitely come out soon. The girl glanced at Ce and said to Yun Jian and the other 2 girls, as well as Zhang Jian, who had just walked in. However, before the girl could finish her sentence, Zhang Xiaofeng and Yun Jian had already walked out of the audition room. As Yun Jian walked towards the audition room, Ce naturally followed behind her and stayed close to Yun Jian. When the girls saw that both of them had left, she felt unhappy. After all, she was pretty, but this handsome guy didn't even look at her. Hence, the girl followed them. "Lan, what are you doing?" The girl who had been talking to the girl asked as she pulled her back. I'm just following them to take a look." The girl named Lan let go of the other girl's hand and walked towards Yun Jian and Ce. This girl's name was Jiang Lan. She was quite pretty and had some good looks. She was the kind of girl who was tall and beautiful. When Jiang Lan saw that Ce was ignoring her, she pursed her lips and followed them. "Don't go over there. The audition room is still going on. It's not right for you to do this." Jiang Lanlan saw that Ce had turned his head slightly, so she swallowed her words. However, Ce wasn't looking at Jiang Lanlan. Instead, he was looking at Yun Jian. Open the door. Yun Jian ignored Jiang Lanlan and said to Zhang Xiaofeng. I told you not to open the door. You'll affect the audition. That's immoral. Ce was obviously not an immoral person. Jiang Lanlan was unhappy with Yun Jian, so she stood behind them and shouted. Even an idiot could see that Ce's doting gaze was because of Yun Jian. Hence, the more Jiang Lanlan looked at Yun Jian, the more unhappy she felt. While Jiang Lanlan was still talking, Zhang Xiaofeng had already reached out to open the audition room's door. Click. Zhang Xiaofeng frowned and quickly turned to Yun Jian. Master, the door is locked. This young man called her master. Because Ce was looking at Yun Jian with doting eyes, Jiang Lanlan couldn't help but pay more attention to Yun Jian. Obviously, Jiang Lanlan had taken a liking to Ce and realized that Ce's focus was on Yun Jian. What surprised Jiang Lanlan was that Zhang Xiaofeng actually called Yun Jian master. Master? This girl was really interesting. She actually learned how to host a house party like a child. Jiang Lanlan couldn't help but laugh at Yun Jian in her heart. I'll do it. Just as Jiang Lanlan was about to say something, Yun Jian had already stood in front of Zhang Xiaofeng. She reached out her hand and there was a metal wire in it. TSK, this metal wire. Are you going to use this to pry open the door? Do you think you're a trained agent in the military? To have this book. Jiang Lanlan couldn't help but speak up. Gotcha. Before Jiang Lanlan could finish her sentence, Yun Jian had already opened the door with the metal wire. Jiang Lanlan instantly shut her mouth. Chapter 8:15. Just as Jiang Lanlan was about to say something, Yun Jian had already kicked the door of the audition room open. You. Jiang Lanlan had just uttered a word when Yun Jian had already walked into the room. Once the soundproof door was kicked open, the sound from inside the room could be heard everywhere. F***CK. You bunch of idiots. Who told you to stop her? You even let her commit suicide. What should we do now? What should we do now? Zhao Zhengmin's voice was like waves that splashed into everyone's ears. However, when his voice reached the door, a few girls who were standing at the door immediately stood up. Suicide? What's going on? Hearing the word suicide, Yun Jian and Zhang Xiaofeng dashed into the room. Ce's eyes flickered slightly, but she also entered the room as fast as she could. When Jiang Lanlan heard the sound from inside, she frowned suspiciously and followed them in. Yun Jian and Zhang Xiaofeng were walking in front, but they were the first to see the scene in front of them. The audition room was very big, but it was dark. The curtains and windows were all closed, giving people the impression that they were standing in a pitch-black environment. Fortunately, the lights were still on, but because the sky was still bright outside, the lights didn't appear bright. Instead, it gave people the feeling that they were in a dark environment. However, Yun Jian and Zhang Xiaofeng weren't attracted by this scene. What attracted them was Chen Sini, who was lying in a pool of blood. From afar, they could see a broken vase on the ground. The vase was shattered into pieces, and one of the pieces was in Chen Sini's hand. This piece of vase had already cut through Chen Sini's left aorta, and Chen Sini's aorta was gushing with blood. Even if the people in the room didn't deliberately think about it, they could still imagine what had happened. Chen Sini was lying on the ground, but her stubborn gaze touched everyone's heart. A warrior would rather be killed than humiliated. Who said that only men could do this? She, Chen Sini, did the same. He would rather die than submit to humiliation. The moment she saw Yun Jian, Zhang Xiaofeng, and the others, Chen Sini's vision gradually became blurry. Her eyelids were struggling to move up and down, and in the end, she closed her eyes. How nice. Zhang Xiaofeng did not give up on her, and Xiao Jian was here too. When they saw this scene, Yun Jian and Zhang Xiaofeng's eyes instantly turned bloodshot. They had the feeling of wanting to tear the person in front of them apart. When Zhao Jingmin and the others suddenly saw Yun Jian and the others in the audition room, he was so scared that his whole body trembled slightly. Why is she here? Zhao Jingmin watched as Yun Jian and Zhang Xiaofeng ran over. For some reason, his heart trembled violently. It felt like his heart was being pounded hard by something, making it hard to breathe. In spite of it, Yun Jian and Zhang Xiaofeng ignored Zhao Jingmin and the others, bypassing them and going straight for Chen Sini. It was fortunate that Chen Sini had just cut her aorta. There was still time for Yun Jian and Zhang Xiaofeng to make it. Hiss. Yun Jian ran to the curtain and pulled it open immediately, tearing off 2 long pieces of cloth. Don't touch her yet, I'll do it. Yun Jian said as she ran over and lifted Chen Sini's wrist gently, pressing one of the pieces of cloth on Chen Sini's wrist where it was bleeding. Then, Yun Jian used the other piece of curtain cloth as a rope and tied it near Chen Sini's heart joint. Chapter 8:16. Carry her, I'll send you to the hospital, Ce said to Zhang Xiaofeng briefly. Keep an eye on the wound on her wrist. As long as it doesn't bleed, it won't be too late to send her to the hospital. Don't be afraid, Yun Jian said. Her eyes were bloodshot as she looked at Chen Sini's wound. Chen Sini's face was bruised as if she had been slapped twice. Apart from that, Chen Sini's pink girlish jacket was also slightly wrinkled. It seemed like she had put up a huge struggle just to avoid being humiliated. Let me carry her, I'm strong. Zhang Jian saw this and hurried over. With the help of Zhang Xiaofeng and Yun Jian, he carried Chen Sini's thin and weak body on his back. Then, Ce led Zhang Jian downstairs with Zhang Xiaofeng. Yun Jian didn't follow them to the hospital. She knew that Chen Sini would be fine. She had just bandaged Chen Sini's wound. As long as she sent her to the hospital in time, she would be fine. Moreover, Chen Sini had just cut her wrist and didn't seem to have lost too much blood. Ce drove. Yun Jian was assured that he would be able to send Chen Sini to the hospital in the shortest time possible. Yun Jian had always been a vengeful person, so she didn't leave. Slow down, softer. Zhang Xiaofeng looked at Chen Sini's sorry state. On his handsome face, his dark eyes were covered by a layer of haze. Chen Sini had played with him since they were young. To Zhang Xiaofeng, although Chen Sini was his cousin, they were as close as real siblings. At this moment, Zhang Xiaofeng was worried about Chen Sini's injury and couldn't care less about revenge. Watching Zhang Jian carry Chen Sini out while Zhang Xiaofeng guarded them from the side while Ce got down to drive the car, the 3 of them disappeared from the place. Yun Jian was squatting on the ground, but now she slowly stood up. The girls who were waiting in the waiting room saw Zhang Jian carrying Chen Sini out of the audition room with her clothes stained with blood. They were terrified and bewildered. But because of their bewilderment, they ran into the audition room. What was going on? Why did the girl who went in just now leave with blood all over her body? When the girl who was with Jiang Lanlan saw that Jiang Lanlan had followed her into the audition room, she frowned and walked over suspiciously. Lanlan, what's going on? Why did that girl leave with blood all over her body? She looked so scary. The girl shuddered and walked towards Jiang Lanlan. I don't know. Jiang Lanlan shuddered and swallowed her saliva. Looking at the horrifying scene, Jiang Lanlan could not care less that Ce, whom she had a good impression of at first sight, had left. This was the first time the girls saw someone covered in blood. Usually, they would be scared to death even if they were slightly injured. But when they saw Chen Sini leave with blood all over her body, they shuddered in fear. At this moment, Yun Jian was standing beside the curtain with her back facing Zhao Jingmin and the girls. At this moment, she slowly turned her head around, and the cruel killing intent on her face was on the verge of erupting. Everyone saw that her eyes were covered with blood vessels. Her eyes turned from black to slightly red. Everyone present couldn't help but shiver when they saw this. Chapter 8:17. Zhao Jingmin's whole body was trembling. He didn't know why, but Yun Jian gave him a different feeling than before. When he met Yun Jian in the bridal shop, Zhao Jingmin's eyes lit up. Because at that time, Yun Jian really looked like an ordinary beautiful girl, so youthful and full of vitality. She really looked like a female student in school, giving people an indescribable and suffocating sense of beauty. That was why Zhao Jingmin kept pestering Yun Jian. Because to Zhao Jingmin, whether it was him or his company, they really needed a pure and beautiful girl like Yun Jian. Moreover, there were so many girls auditioning today. In fact, Zhao Jingmin only wanted to choose the purest one to be the female lead of the new movie. The new movie this time was called Pure and Innocent Schoolgirl. However, the word pure came with double quotes. That's right, Zhao Jingmin and his group specialized in abducting young girls to shoot nude films and AV. Moreover, the girls he abducted were all pure and innocent girls who had dreams of becoming big stars. At that time, Zhao Jingmin felt that it was a pity that Yun Jian didn't agree to join because he thought that if Yun Jian had come to the audition, then the female lead of the movie would have been none other than her. However, Zhao Jingmin was already very satisfied with Chen Sini. Because Chen Sini's appearance was also clean and sweet, especially in this group of girls, she stood out. Moreover, he tried his best to make her stay. However, he didn't expect that Chen Sini would have the courage to commit suicide in order to avoid being humiliated. In this day and age, there were very few people who would commit suicide in order to protect their innocence. No one was willing to be forced to submit, but in the face of death, innocence didn't seem so important to many people. Just now, Zhao Jingmin's slight tremble had already been noticed by Yun Jian. She slightly curved her lips into a smile. This smile was so eerie and strange that it made people unable to breathe. Jiang Lanlan and the other girls who were watching from afar were also frightened. At this time, the girls huddled together, not daring to walk or go forward. Who slapped her? Yun Jian calmly repeated this sentence again. Tell me. Then, she raised her voice all of a sudden. Her sudden high-pitched voice made everyone shudder in fright. Then she added, You're not going to say it? Fine, then I'll kill all of you. Just as Yun Jian said this, he saw a shifty-eyed invigilator stand out. He pointed his finger at Zhao Jingmin and was so scared that he confessed everything. It's him, it's him, it's him. Perhaps because the door was locked, or Yun Jian could still enter, or her aura was too strong, or her aura, but everyone's aura's aura was too strong. So, very well. Yun Jian snickered, sending a chill down everyone's spine. Left or right hand? Yun Jian raised her eyes to look at Zhao Jingmin again. The words that came out of her mouth had a hint of evilness that could not be ignored. This time, Zhao Jingmin was completely scared. He was scared of Yun Jian's frightening tone. Right hand, this is all a misunderstanding. It's not what you think. I think we can have a good talk. Before Zhao Jingmin could finish, Yun Jian flew in front of Zhao Jingmin under everyone's gaze. She lifted her leg, and that slender leg of hers went over his head. With one kick, she viciously kicked Zhao Jingmin from the back. Zhao Jingmin's front body fell to the ground. He had just fallen to the ground, and his two hands were close to the ground. Yun Jian was right behind him. She kicked Zhao Jingmin's right wrist, and with a flip of her hand, a butterfly knife appeared in her hand. Hua! Yun Jian was like chopping pork ribs. Her knife viciously stabbed into Zhao Jingmin's right hand's finger. Ah! Then came Zhao Jingmin's desperate howl that sounded like a pig being slaughtered. Chapter 8:18. It was chopped. Zhao Jingmin's thumb was chopped off by Yun Jian just like that. That's a finger we're talking about. Moreover, there were bones on his fingers. Yun Jian chopped off Zhao Jingmin's finger like she was chopping up a pig's bone with just one slash. How much strength did she need to do that? Everyone present was dumbfounded. Their eyes were wide open, and their mouths formed an O shape. She was still a young girl. After chopping off Zhao Jingmin's right thumb, there wasn't even the slightest trace of fear on his face. Yun Jian's face was calm. She just looked at Zhao Jingmin, whose thumb was chopped off by her. There was not even a trace of fear on her face. Everyone present saw this scene and had goosebumps all over their bodies. At the moment when everyone was surprised, Yun Jian's voice was heard again. You slapped her twice, didn't you? Yun Jian did not ask this question as a question, but said it in an affirmative tone. There were 2 palm prints on Chen Sini's face. Yun Jian was observant and could naturally see it. Zhao Jingmin's right wrist was still being stepped on by Yun Jian, but his whole body was rolling on the ground in pain. At this moment, Zhao Jingmin's mind was blank. His perception had been covered by the word pain. Pain, endless pain. Zhao Jingmin regretted it very much at this moment. How did he provoke Yun Jian, the devil? Yes, she was the devil. The devil. She was the grim reaper from hell. Ha! Yun Jian snorted softly. This snort made everyone's hair stand again. 2 slaps, 2 of your fingers. As soon as Yun Jian finished speaking, she stepped on Zhao Jingmin's wrist, bent down and chopped down with the butterfly knife. Zhao Jingmin was in so much pain that he could not feel anything. At this moment, he was rolling on the ground and only one word came out of his mouth, ah. Everyone present couldn't help but feel a chill run down their spines. Yun Jian's brutality sent chills down everyone's spines. Pooh! Zhao Jingmin's index finger was also chopped off by Yun Jian. However, the moment his index finger was chopped off by Yun Jian let go of Zhao Jingmin's wrist. At the same time, she lifted her foot and stepped on the 2 bloody fingers. Just looking at them from a distance was enough to make one feel scared. Pfff. Yun Jian stepped on the 2 fingers and crushed them like mud. When the invigilators and Jiang Lanlan saw this scene from afar, they were so terrified that they wanted to escape through the door. But in the end, under the pressure of Yun Jian, no one dared to take the lead and run. He was afraid that he would become the next Zhao Jingmin. At this time, Zhao Jingmin had already fainted from the pain. Do you guys want to taste death too? Yun Jian waved the 2 butterfly knives. She turned around and walked towards the invigilators and the director. No, it has nothing to do with us. No, please, we won't dare to do it again. These invigilators and directors were so scared that their bodies were trembling. At this moment, all of them were trembling uncontrollably. Jiang Lanlan was dumbfounded. She didn't expect Yun Jian to be so cruel. How could a good girl like Jiang Lanlan have seen such a bloody scene? She was even secretly glad that she didn't provoke Yun Jian. Chapter 8:19. Retracting her evil smile, Yun Jian turned around and walked towards the group of examiners. Why you, don't come over. The group of examiners had long been scared half to death. They had all seen how Yun Jian dealt with Zhao Jingmin just now. So cruel. And this little girl's skills were so powerful. Not only were her skills good, but her methods were also extremely cruel. The people present were all ordinary people, and they had never seen such terrifying skills before. Thus, at this moment, they were all scared witless. At this moment, the group of examiners wished they could tear Zhao Jingmin to shreds. Where did Zhao Jingmin, this guy, bring such a terrifying person? She was going to get them all killed. How could Yun Jian listen to the examiner's words? She smiled maliciously, and just as she took 2 steps towards the examiners, a person suddenly walked in through the door. Young madam. Looking at Yun Jian, Emosen respectfully called out. Young madam? Even the examiners who were still nervous and scared, as well as Jiang Lanlan and the others who were about to faint from the terrifying visual impact, were all shocked and bewildered. There was actually such a title in this day and age. Young madam. But the people present didn't think much of it. Yun Jian looked up at Emosen, and she knew that he must have been sent by Ce. Yun Jian lightly pursed her lips, and then her eyebrows lightly raised. Mo-san had already turned his gaze towards the examiners. "Young madam, do you need me to kill them for you?" Mo-san said, and a murderous intent surged from his brows. When Ce sent him the message, Mo-san had just found Adam and Lan Su who were taking a walk. The moment he saw Ce's message, he immediately rushed here. "No," Yun Jian frivolously said. The examiners fiercely let out a sigh of relief. Although Yun Jian had just chopped off 2 of Zhao Jingmin's fingers, fortunately, only Zhao Jingmin and Su Song had attacked Chen Sini. If Yun Jian still refused to stop, they would sell Su Song out and protect themselves. Moreover, murder was illegal. Yun Jian naturally couldn't kill them. What the invigilators were afraid of was that this was an enclosed space. Yun Jian was so powerful that no one could run out to call the police. Under such circumstances, if Yun Jian wanted to kill them, it would be no different from crushing an ant. "This matter is our fault. We didn't know that she was your friend. We promised to delete all the recordings of your friend. We hope that you can forgive us." The thievish-looking invigilator stood up and said. He thought that Yun Jian had already forgiven them. But who knew that Yun Jian didn't pay any attention to the invigilator's words at all? She turned her head sideways, showing her delicate and beautiful little face to the few of them. "Mo-san, chop off everyone's genitals here and feed them to the dogs." Yun Jian's words were simply murderous. In an instant, the faces of the invigilators turned pale. "Yes." It was also at this moment that Mo-san answered and stepped forward. At this moment, Mo-san was already holding a small knife in his hand. Always remember the young master's instructions. Whatever Yun Jian said was the young master's order. Mo-san walked towards the group of invigilators. Seeing this, Yun Jian also walked towards the door. Just as she walked to the door, before she walked out, Yun Jian turned her head and glanced at Jiang Lanlan and the others. "Still not leaving? Are you waiting for death?" Chapter 820. After Jiang Lanlan and the rest fled, Yun Jian stepped out of the audition room as well. Just as she stepped out of the audition room, Yun Jian heard the screams that sounded like pigs being slaughtered in the slaughterhouse. The people in the room had ruined the lives of countless innocent girls. It was not enough even if they died 1,000 times. The reason Yun Jian was so cruel to them was because she saw them. She was reminded of Chen Sini who was covered in blood. If she had not made it here in time, what would have happened to Chen Sini now? Yun Jian had already regarded Chen Sini as her most important friend apart from Lu Fian in her life, so she would not allow anything to happen to her. Once she recalled how pathetic Chen Sini looked when she was brought out, Yun Jian had the urge to kill everyone in the room. However, they would feel worse than death if she crippled them. She would let them experience what it felt like to wish they were dead if they offended someone Yun Jian cared about. Just as she stepped out of the audition room, Yun Jian turned her head slightly and left a sentence that plunged everyone in the room into hell. "Baiguang Model Agency will become a thing of the past because of you." Yun Jian left right after that. Just as she stepped out of Baiguang Model Agency, Yun Jian called a luring demon who was overseas. Demonis was the chairman of the company that she had founded in her previous life. Even in the entire world, Demonis had absolute authority. Yun Jian only spoke briefly after she called Alluring Demon, Country Z's Longmen City's Baiguang Model Agency. "I don't want to see it in Longmen City tomorrow." Hearing Yun Jian's words, Alluring Demon teased, "Who's so daring to offend our big boss?" Haha. As she spoke, she agreed to Yun Jian's request. Yun Jian hung up after a short conversation with Alluring Demon. Alluring Demon was a very capable person. When Yun Jian first founded the company, she had started from scratch. From the initial startup company to the current existence of the top global multinational company, Demonis was undoubtedly a very shrewd businesswoman. After hanging up the call with the witch, Yun Jian called the police station and directly reported Zhao Jingmin and the others' evil deeds. The police station that received the report immediately sent someone to investigate. In the end, Zhao Jingmin and his group were all captured and thrown into prison. The group of police officers who made the arrest were shocked for a while. How could this group of despicable people who forced girls to film obscenities all have their manhood chopped off? One of them even had 2 fingers chopped off. Did he offend someone? The person they had offended had arrived at the entrance of Longmen City's largest people's hospital. Longmen City People's Hospital. As soon as Yun Jian walked in, she walked to the front desk of the hospital. Before the man reached the front desk, Yun Jian heard the voices of the female nurses standing at the front desk discussing the situation. Did you see that? A girl just committed suicide and was sent to the hospital. Suicide? Oh my God, girls nowadays don't know how to love themselves. Isn't that so? She's so young and she's learning how to commit suicide. I think it's another girl who was hurt by love. Kids nowadays are really open-minded. The nurses could not help chatting about what they had seen just now as they stood together. Just as they spoke, a voice came from behind them. Where's the girl you're talking about now? The nurses were startled by the voice. One of them even yelled, "Oh my God." Chapter 8:21. As she spoke, the nurse appeared to be afraid. What had the nurses and doctors in the hospital not seen before? The nurses in front of her looked quite young. They were probably inexperienced, which was why they looked a little flustered. Yun Jian turned around and ran towards the emergency room after hearing the nurse's words. After taking 2 steps, she stopped and turned around to look at the group of nurses. She didn't commit suicide because she was hurt by love. Don't gossip behind people's backs. After Yun Jian finished speaking, she turned around and ran towards the emergency room, ignoring the nurses' reactions. The nurses who stood there were stunned for a few seconds. One of them even spat out, "What are you talking about? Is she crazy? Who knows? Forget it, forget it. Don't talk about it. Hurry up and get to work." Another nurse added. Yun Jian had already arrived at the emergency room's entrance. Just as she ran into the emergency room, she saw Zhang Xiaofeng and Zhang Jian sitting at the entrance. CE was standing beside the emergency room's bench. "How is he?" Yun Jian walked over and asked. "He's still being resuscitated." Zhang Xiaofeng covered his forehead with his hand and said in a muffled voice. Even though she couldn't see Zhang Xiaofeng's expression, she could tell that Zhang Xiaofeng's expression was definitely one of misery. "He'll be fine," Yun Jian walked over and said softly. There were 3 rows of benches beside the emergency room. Zhang Xiaofeng and Zhang Jian each sat on one, leaving 1 empty seat. CE pulled Yun Jian and discreetly made Yun Jian sit down. He himself was standing. 2 hours later, the emergency room's lights finally went off. When the doctor opened the door and came out, Zhang Xiaofeng's heart almost stopped. "Doctor, how is it?" Zhang Xiaofeng was the first to stand up and walk over. "Fortunately, you sent him here in time. The hospital happened to have type A blood and he's still receiving blood transfusions. However, his condition has mostly stabilized and he's fine now." The doctor's words were even more pleasant than the sound of nature to everyone's ears. Zhang Xiaofeng heaved a sigh of relief. Yun Jian already knew this would happen, so she wasn't surprised. Half an hour later, Chen Sini was transferred to the ward. Chen Sini hadn't woken up yet. Although she was out of danger, she was still seriously injured. If the blood rejected her during the blood transfusion, she would die if it wasn't discovered in time. Therefore, they needed someone to keep watch at night. No matter what, Zhang Xiaofeng said that he had to keep watch tonight. Besides, they would definitely inform Chen Sini's parents about such a big thing. Yun Jian went home after making sure that Chen Sini would be fine. Then, she asked Zhang Xiaofeng to call her immediately if anything happened. Zhang Jian carried Chen Sini downstairs and to the hospital today. He was careful and fast. He deserved a lot of credit. Indeed, having great strength had its benefits. Now that he heard that Chen Sini was fine, he went home with peace of mind. When Yun Jian and CE arrived home, it was already past 10 at night. Xiao Yunju and the other two had already gone to bed. Hearing Yun Jian and Siyi's voices, Qin Yiru put on a jacket and stood at the stairs. "You're back. Go upstairs and rest," Qin Yiru said. "Okay, Mom." Yun Jian nodded and went upstairs with Ce. The moment Yun Jian went upstairs, Ce pulled her to his room. The next morning, just before dawn. Since her rebirth, Yun Jian didn't get up for a morning run. Instead, she rushed to the hospital as soon as she woke up. Chapter 822. Before arriving at the People's Hospital of Longmen City, Yun Jian stopped in front of a fruit shop near the hospital. "Young lady, do you want to buy anything?" The shop owner hurried out to call out when he saw the arrival of business. He saw Yun Jian glancing at his stall a few times as if she could not decide which fruit to buy. The shop owner was very good at doing business. He pointed at a fruit basket not far away and said to Yun Jian, "Young lady, if you really don't know what to give, why don't you just give a fruit basket? There's all kinds of fruits in this basket. There's bound to be something you like." The shop owner was very good at reading people. He could tell that Yun Jian was buying fruits as a gift at first glance. Yun Jian pressed her lips together and took the fruit basket. "It's a total of 28 yuan, the shop owner said as he rubbed his hands. Prices were relatively low in this era, so 28 yuan for a fruit basket was considered expensive. Before Yun Jian could take out the money, Ce had already taken out a bank card from her pants pocket and passed it to the shop owner. "Buy card." The shop owner was dumbfounded by the bank card Ce gave him. The shop owner reacted quickly and forced a smile. "Young man, we don't accept cards in our shop. Do you have cash?" The shop owner's tone was a little awkward. "I do." Yun Jian glanced at the shop owner with a smile and took out a 100 yuan note from her pants pocket as she spoke. "Here." Yun Jian passed it to the shop owner. The shop owner felt like he was about to faint when he saw the 100 yuan note. It was such a huge amount of money. Did he not have enough loose change in his shop? "Hold on, I'll go to the shop opposite to give you the change," the shop owner said and was about to go to the shop opposite to see if he could get some loose change. "No need," Yun Jian said. "Huh?" The shop owner was dumbfounded by Yun Jian's reply. She had loose change? This was the shop owner's first thought. "There's no need to look for it," Yun Jian said in the next second. With that, she walked towards the hospital with Ce. This caused the shop owner to be dumbfounded. The remaining money could be used to buy 3 or 4 blue fruits. They didn't want it anymore. These two young lovers were really rich. The shop owner was very surprised, but he still shook his head helplessly. Suddenly, he couldn't help but feel that he had made a big deal today. Yun Jian was in a hurry to go to the hospital to see Chen Sini, so she took big strides. 1 step from Siyi's long legs was equivalent to 2 steps from Yun Jian, so Yun Jian quickened her pace. When they arrived at the door of Chen Sini's ward, they looked in from the outside and saw that there were already many people standing inside. Since something like this had happened to Chen Sini, it was obvious that the culprit must be Chen Sini's relatives. It was then that Yun Jian and Ce walked in. Just as Yun Jian stepped through the door, she saw Chen Sini, who had already woken up, being fed chicken soup by a slim and young-looking woman. Chen Sini looked a little weak, but she had recovered a lot of energy. When she saw Yun Jian walk in, Chen Sini called out quickly, "Jian Jian, you're here." Her voice was soft but Yun Jian heard her loud and clear. Yun Jian nodded and entered the room under everyone's watchful eyes. "Mom, this is my friend. She saved me yesterday," Chen Sini told the young-looking woman who was feeding her chicken soup. Chapter 823. This young-looking woman was actually in her 40s. Because she took good care of herself, she looked very young. This young woman was called He Xia, Chen Sini's mother. She was beautiful, and her appearance was also outstanding. Of course, because she was old, her appearance would definitely deteriorate. Did you save Xiao Yi? Thank you so much. Xia looked at Yunjian and quickly put down the chicken soup in her hand. She walked over and thanked Yunjian profusely. Cinny is my friend. So, it was natural that she saved her. Yunjian pursed her lips and said this. Although she heard Yunjian's words, Xia was still very grateful to Yunjian. After Xia thanked Yunjian, a middle-aged man walked over from the group of people in the room. This middle-aged man was Xia's husband, Qin Cinny's father. His name was Qin Jinchuan. After Xia thanked him profusely, Qin Jinchuan walked over and bowed deeply to Yunjian. Xiao Yi is the child that we have doted on since she was young. If anything happens to her, then we really. Please accept our thanks. Zhang Xiaofeng, who was standing at the side, walked over and waved his fist. He said with interest, Hey, we're all on the same side. Hee, I haven't had the chance to tell you guys. This is my master, Yunjian. I told you guys before that I'm so good now because I learned from her. As he spoke, the group of people around him smiled slightly. It was as if they were affected by Zhang Xiaofeng's lively atmosphere. Yunjian also smiled politely to show her friendliness. She wasn't particularly good at being polite to people. It's really infuriating. That Baiguang model agency is actually doing this kind of shady business. If you ask me, Jinchuan, you should destroy it. This room was filled with Qin Cinny's relatives. At this moment, a man with a beer belly stood up and suggested to Qin Jinchuan. Qin Jinchuan was a rich boss, and he was as capable as Zhang Xiaofeng's father. Qin Jinchuan also owned a company. He was a talent himself, and the company had recruited many talents. Therefore, Qin Jinchuan's company was quite big. Although Qin Jinchuan's company was big, it couldn't bring down Baiguang Model Agency. This was because Baiguang Model Agency was not something that could be destroyed by ordinary people. As for the relatives who came to visit Qin Cinny, it was purely because Qin Jinchuan was rich that they came to visit Qin Cinny. If it weren't for the fact that Qin Jinchuan's family owned a large company, how could these relatives all come to visit Qin Cinny on the morning of her accident? He reckoned that all of them had already run far away. Just as the man with the beer belly finished speaking, another man who looked more experienced rushed to flatter Qin Jinchuan. Don't spout nonsense. When I was reading the newspaper this morning, I saw that Baiguang Model Agency was banned for some reason. And it must have been done by someone. It's such a big company. The newspaper headline just 2 days ago said that Baiguang Model Agency was the most capable new company representative, but it was banned this morning. What does this mean? It must have offended someone. As the experienced man spoke, he changed the topic to Qin Jinchuan. If you ask me, only you, Qin Jinchuan, can run Baiguang Model Agency. For a big boss like you, a mere Baiguang Model Agency should be a piece of cake, right? These relatives who were lying through their teeth were the funniest. Qin Jinchuan hadn't said anything yet, but they were already talking about countless topics. Baiguang Model Agency was banned? Master, did you do it? Zhang Xiaofeng was shocked for a while, then he turned to look at Yunjian and asked. Zhang Xiaofeng's voice stunned the two people who were flattering Qin Jinchuan. Chapter 824. Baiguang Model Agency was considered a big shot in the eyes of the people present. It was one of the top companies in the country, let alone in Longmen City. As for why the two men had boasted about a mere Baiguang Model Agency, it was because they thought too highly of Qin Jinchuan's company. They had no idea how big Qin Jinchuan's company was and how it was better than Baiguang Model Agency. They had spouted everything just to flatter him. What they did not know was that their words sounded like they were praising Qin Jinchuan on the surface, but in fact, Qin Jinchuan was not even willing to look at them. It was because people like them were not likable. When Zhang Xiaofeng turned to look at Yunjian and asked if Baiguang Model Agency was the one who banned Yunjian, everyone present was dumbfounded. Then, the old man with the beer belly and the other man who looked rather experienced held their stomachs and started laughing loudly. Ha ha ha. It was only when they were done laughing that they looked at Yunjian oddly. What? Did I hear wrongly? You're saying that she's the one who banned Baiguang Model Agency? Are you kidding me? The man with the beer belly laughed while holding his stomach. He then turned to look at Yun Jian and asked with a scornful gaze, "Little girl, how old are you? You're in junior high, aren't you?" As he spoke, the man with the beer belly turned to look at Qin Jinchuan, the sneer on his face vanishing instantly. "Jinchuan, just tell me. Your daughter was bullied by Baiguang Model Agency. How could you let those people go? You're really something though. You've built a company by yourself and even banned a big company like Baiguang Model Agency. You're really something, kid." The man with the beer belly spoke to Yun Jian with contempt, but when he turned to talk to Qin Jinchuan, his face was filled with admiration. There was a sense of flattery in his admiration that could not be ignored. "I'm not the one who banned Baiguang Model Agency. I don't have that ability." Qin Jinchuan sighed and clenched his fists. His daughter had been bullied by Baiguang Model Agency, but he didn't have the ability to personally shut Baiguang Model Agency out. Although this feeling was unpleasant, Qin Jinchuan was grateful to the person who had banned Baiguang Model Agency from the bottom of his heart. Qin Jinchuan even thought that to be able to ban Baiguang Model Agency in less than a day, the other party must be a famous company in the country, or even an international company. Just as Qin Jinchuan was thinking about this in admiration, a pleasant and calm female voice was heard. "That's right. I was the one who banned Baiguang Model Agency." Was she the one who banned them? Her. Everyone present turned their heads in surprise, only to see Yun Jian pursing her lips. Her red lips curled up as she spoke. Baiguang Model Agency was banned under her orders. No matter what kind of background Baiguang Model Agency had, what was the use of Baiguang Model Agency if a company under Baiguang Model Agency couldn't even be banned? Everyone present was stunned when they heard Yun Jian's words. What? What? Baiguang Model Agency was really banned by Yun Jian? Was there a mistake? She was just a child. Chapter 825. Even Qin Jinchuan was dumbfounded, confused by Yun Jian's words. It was not that Qin Jinchuan looked down on Yun Jian, but what kind of existence was Baiguang Model Agency? At least in Longmen City, Baiguang Model Agency was considered a big name. It was even close to breaking out of Longmen City and becoming the top entertainment company in the country. In other words, a large company like Baiguang Model Agency would one day become the top entertainment company in Country Z. Since it had been established for a long time, it had nurtured countless famous models and artists until now. It had a bright future ahead of it. Qin Jinchuan's company might still be on par with Baiguang Model Agency, but it was impossible for Qin Jinchuan to shut Baiguang Model Agency out. That was why Qin Jinchuan was so shocked. Yun Jian said that she was the one who shut down Baiguang Model Agency. Who was she? What force would shut down Baiguang Model Agency? The man with the beer belly and the more experienced man were completely dumbfounded. After the initial shock, however, distrust was written all over their faces. "Come on, young lady. I understand that you want to take credit, but Baiguang Model Agency isn't something you can shut down just because you say so. We have to look at the actual situation. You can't just spout nonsense like that," the man with the beer belly added. He thought that Yun Jian was eager to show off in front of Qin Jinchuan and that Yun Jian wanted to take credit in front of the latter like he did. Yun Jian understood what he meant, but Yun Jian only smiled faintly and did not bother to explain herself. Take credit for what? Are you crazy? Does my master need to take credit? Zhang Xiaofeng could not hold himself back and shouted. That's right, my Jian doesn't need it. Chen Sini was lying on the bed. If she was not held down by He Xia, she would have stood up to speak up for Yun Jian. The man with the beer belly fell silent after Zhang Xiaofeng and Chen Sini scolded him. Zhang Xiaofeng and Chen Sini's parents owned big companies while the man with the beer belly was just a poor worker. Once they heard that Chen Sini was in trouble, they came to visit her immediately to leave a good impression on Qin Jinchuan. The man with the beer belly dared not refute Zhang Xiaofeng and Chen Sini's words. Be it Zhang Xiaofeng or Qin Sini's father, they were both directors of a collective company. This beer-bellied man and his group of people flattered them. Wasn't it because they wanted them to remember their family ties and become rich with them? Zhang, Xiaofeng, Sini, that's enough. Qin Jinchuan spoke with a frown. Zhang was the man's Zhang Xiaofeng was the man with the beer belly. Once Qin Jinchuan spoke, everyone else fell silent. Qin Jinchuan smiled at Yun Jian awkwardly and said, "No matter what, Xiao Yi was saved because of you." The doctor said that her injury isn't serious and she can be discharged next Saturday morning. To express my gratitude, I'll invite you to our house for dinner next Saturday. Otherwise, I'd really feel bad. Other than Qin Sini and Xia who knew about it, everyone else was taken aback by Qin Jinchuan's sudden invitation. In spite of it, Yun Jian had saved Qin Sini's life, so it was not strange for Qin Jinchuan to invite her. "Jian Jian, come, come. You must come to my house next Saturday. The doctor said that I have to rest at home for a month after I'm discharged. I'll be bored to death if you don't come." Qin Sini invited with a smile. Chapter 826. Qin Jinchuan grinned when he heard that Yun Jian had agreed to come to his house for dinner next Saturday. He found Yun Jian, his daughter's best friend, rather pleasing to the eye. "It's decided then. And this young man, come along next Saturday as well. The more the merrier, ah." As Qin Jinchuan spoke, he noticed Ce who was standing beside Yun Jian and extended a token invitation as well. Before Ce could say anything, however, Yun Jian had already declined on his behalf. "He's busy next Saturday. He probably won't be able to make it." Hearing that Yun Jian had declined on behalf of Ce, Qin Jinchuan added, That's quite a pity." Actually, Qin Jinchuan had only invited Ce because he thought that Ce would be coming with Yun Jian to visit Qin Sini. Out of courtesy, he could not just invite Yun Jian alone. It would be rather awkward for Ce to accept such an invitation. Under such circumstances, Yun Jian had declined on behalf of Ce to avoid embarrassment. Yun Jian put down the fruit basket before she left, eliciting another round of thanks from Xia and Qin Jinchuan. Yun Jian left the hospital with Ce after learning that Qin Sini was all right. Zhang Xiaofeng agreed to Qin Sini's request and sent Yun Jian downstairs from the hospital ward until they left Longmen City People's Hospital. "Master, don't worry. Sini will be fine with us taking care of her. I'm planning to take a day off this week to accompany Qin Sini in the hospital. She won't be bored then." "Heh, Master, please thank Zhang Jian on my behalf. It's all thanks to his strength that he carried Sini into the car and down to the hospital." Zhang Xiaofeng said a lot to Yun Jian in one breath. Yun Jian merely nodded. "I'll tell him when we go to school tonight." Yun Jian reassured Zhang Xiaofeng and bade farewell to Zhang Xiaofeng before she turned to leave with Ce side by side. Longmen City People's Hospital was near the downtown area. Not long after Yun Jian and Ce left the hospital, Yun Jian suddenly remembered something. "I'm going to buy a cell phone for my mom and brother. It's convenient for us to contact," Yun Jian said to Ce as she stood by the roadside. Due to what happened to Qin Yiru not too long ago, Qin Yiru and Yun Yi, so that it's convenient for them to contact. Even if the previous incident happened, she could use the program to lock the phone's address and find the person immediately. "Okay," Ce said softly and reached out to hold Yun Jian's hand, walking to the opposite side of the road on the right. It was a downtown area. Cell phones were becoming popular among the rich now. In 1999, Nokia was the first to launch the first WAP cell phone, the Nokia 7110. In country Z, Yun Jian caught up with the trend and bought two Nokia 7110 cell phones for Qin Yiru and Yuni respectively. It was past 9 in the morning. Yun Jian and Ce had just returned home to see Qin Yiru and Gu Junjian arranging the barbecue equipment. Spring was coming. As the weather was getting warmer, the bone-chilling cold of winter had passed. It was the season where everything was rejuvenating. This meant that spring had arrived. Spring always made people think of spring outings. Not only would schools organize spring outings, Gu Junjian had applied for a day's leave from the military and prepared the barbecue equipment to bring Xiao Yunju and the other children for a picnic. It was the weekend and Yunjian did not have to go to school, so Gu Junjian had decided to bring the children for a picnic at the last minute. Chapter 8:27. In the morning, when they heard Gu Junjian say that they were going out for a picnic, Xiao Yunju and the other two were so happy that they didn't know what to do. At this moment, Xiao Yunju, Duanli, and Duanya had already put on their exquisite backpacks and stood by the stairs, watching Qin Yiru and Gu Junjian pack up the barbecue equipment. No way, how can this be? You guys are all going out for a picnic, but I'm not allowed to go. You're just messing with me. When Yunjian and Ce reached the stairs, they heard a rather irritable male voice coming from upstairs. They didn't need to listen to know that it was Adam. You're seriously injured, eating barbecue isn't good for your body. Can you resist eating if you go with us? So you can't go. Mo Sen's voice came soon after. Adam looked quite normal, but in front of delicious food, he really had no self-control at all. F***CK. You're clearly leaving me alone at home, aren't you? Mo Sen, you bastard. Adam's voice slowly rose, and then he fell back down. It sounded more like he was talking to someone else. Shuang, you talk sense to me. Is there anyone like Mo Sen? Didn't we agree to share blessings and misfortunes together? Shuang seemed to chuckle slightly, his voice carrying a bit of suppressed laughter. Alright, who told you to be injured like this? I think you should just listen to me, Isn't it all because of that girl Lan Su? Adam seemed to be very angry as he spoke. Adam and the other two had just finished talking upstairs when Yunjian, who was standing downstairs, saw Lan Su, who had just returned from the main entrance, standing at the stairs, preparing to go upstairs. Yunjian. Lan Su had just returned from outside, and she called out to Yunjian softly. Yunjian nodded and smiled slightly. Lan Su naturally heard the conversation between Adam and the other two upstairs. At this moment, Lan Su had gone upstairs before Yunjian. Yunjian and Ce walked behind Lan Su leisurely. As soon as they reached the second floor, Adam and the other two who were standing by the stairs on the second floor were slightly stunned. Damn it, damn girl, why didn't you say anything when you came up? Adam was just talking about Lan Su when he suddenly saw Lan Su coming up from downstairs. He cursed. Lan Su cast a sidelong glance at Adam. Then, she walked past Adam and the other two, intending to head back to her room. Adam gulped. Just as he thought Lan Su was angry, he heard Lan Su turn to Adam and say, I won't go with you. I'll stay at home with you. This could be considered as a little compensation for Adam. After all, Adam was injured because of him. If he also went to the cookout and left Adam at home, no one would feel good. No, damn girl, you. I didn't mean that. Adam thought that Lan Su was angry. He irritably reached out to touch his head and said, I don't want you to stay at home. Who wants you to accompany me? Just looking at you makes me annoyed. After saying that, Adam turned around and walked away in a hurry. These two are really conflicted. Shuang couldn't help but laugh loudly. Then, he walked in front of Ce and happily called out, Young master. We're leaving. Hurry up and go downstairs. Qin Yiru shouted from downstairs. Just as Qin Yiru shouted this sentence, there was a dong 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 sound at the door. The door wasn't closed, but the person outside the door still knocked symbolically. Is there anyone here? Someone peeked in to take a look. When the man saw Qin Yiru in the house, he brought a few men into the house without a care in the world. Chapter 8:28. When the man whom Qin Yiru referred to as her cousin walked in, there were two people following behind him. Qin Yiru's cousin poked his head in when he saw the door open. When he saw that there was someone in the house, he brought his wife and daughter into the house. "Oh, Yiru, you're here. I thought you'd gone out," Qin Yiru's cousin said with a chuckle despite knowing the answer. As he spoke, he pulled his wife and daughter into the house. "Cousin, why are you here?" Qin Yiru quickly put down the barbecue tools she was fiddling with and stood up as she spoke. "Heh, I heard that you're getting married. Since I'm free today, I thought I'd come to give you some money as a wedding gift," Qin Yiru's cousin said as he walked in through the door. Qin Yiru's cousin's name was Lin Jiahao. Lin Jiahao was a distant relative on Zhang Meihua's side. Zhang Meihua had many siblings in her generation. Naturally, Qin Yiru had many cousins as well. Lin Jiahao was one of them among this group of cousins. Back then, due to the lack of family planning, Zhang Meihua's mother's generation, who was also Yun Jian's grandmother's mother's generation, had children one after another despite living in poverty. They were very fertile. Therefore, to Qin Yiru, her cousins had reached a whole new level. She had a total of 10 to 20 cousins, excluding the cousins on her father's side. Therefore, Qin Yiru did not have much contact with her cousins like Lin Jiahao. Therefore, when she saw Lin Jiahao, Qin Yiru was clearly stunned. After all, Lin Jiahao did not even come when she and Yun Gang got married. Yet, he suddenly appeared here today, claiming that he was here to give her and Gu Yunjian's wedding gift. However, before Qin Yiru could think further, Lin Jiahao had already walked over with a red packet in his hand. He said courteously as he handed it over, "My cousin's family is poor. We don't have much money. When I heard that you're getting married, I rushed over from home. My cousin's family used to be so poor that we didn't even have enough to eat. Now that I know that you're getting married, I have to rush over to give you my blessings." Heh. He was giving money as a wedding gift. In rural terms, it was to pray for peace and good luck. Qin Yiru was embarrassed to not accept it. "Cousin, you're too kind. Sit down and have a cup of tea." Qin Yiru took the money and ran to the kitchen. Not long after that, she came out with a pot of hot water. Lin Jiahao didn't feel awkward at all. Instead, he smiled casually and pulled his wife and daughter to sit down as well. Was Qin Yiru's mother's family. Xiao Yunju and the other two looked disappointed. However, the three of them were well behaved. They didn't cry or make a fuss. "Mom, are we leaving?" Yun Jian came downstairs when she heard her mother's voice. "Not yet. We have guests at home. Let's go later," Qin Yiru said to Yun Jian. Then, she walked over to Lin Jiahao and the other two with a pot of hot water. To Qin Yiru, a visitor was a guest. Even if Lin Jiahao, her cousin, didn't have much contact with her, since he was here, she had to treat him well. Lin Jiahao took the tea from Qin Yiru's hands. He looked at Gu Junjian as he drank and asked, "This is my cousin-in-law, right?" "Yes." Qin Yiru nodded happily. Her face was filled with a smile that couldn't be ignored. "Then, this is your daughter, Yun Jian?" Lin Jiahao looked at Yun Jian, who had just come downstairs. His eyes flashed as he asked. Hearing Lin Jiahao's question, Qin Yiru nodded. "Yes." Chapter 829. The news that Qin Yiru had a capable daughter who was the director of new crews had spread throughout Xinjiang town. Not just Xinjiang town, Zhang Meihua had visited all her relatives and friends after the news was exposed, bragging proudly about Yun Jian's capabilities. Now, there was not a single one of Zhang Meihua's relatives and friends who did not know about Yun Jian's identity as new crew's director. Lin Jiahao must have rushed here to give money after hearing that Qin Yiru was getting married soon because of Yun Jian's identity. Xiao Jian is an obedient child. She's filial too, heh. Qin Yiru said in relief but did not praise her daughter's excellence in front of Lin Jiahao. It was not appropriate to say it in front of outsiders. Xian, take a good look at your cousin. She's the director of a company at such a young age. What about you? You only know how to go out and have fun. Lin Jiahao couldn't help but say as he poked his daughter's hand. What kind of game is this? Lin Jiahao couldn't help but say. Lin Jiahao's daughter was called Lin Xian. She was not particularly good-looking, probably because she inherited Lin Jiahao's looks. Lin Jiahao's wife, who was the woman sitting beside him with a dark expression, had a decent figure and above-average looks. Lin Jiahao's wife was called Shintulian. She was rather good-looking. At least, there were not many people who looked like her in the countryside. It was just that Shintulian was upset when Lin Jiahao praised Yunjian and criticized their daughter. Shintulian was unhappy. Her unhappiness was written all over her face. Stretching her hand, she pinched Lin Jiahao's arm harshly. Of course, her gesture did not escape Yunjian's eyes. Qin Yiru did not see it though. It's good that children like to play. Lively children will be successful in the future. Qin Yiru commented in a friendly manner. Humph. Hypocrite. Lin Xian glared at Qin Yiru in disgust when she heard what the latter said before turning away. That temper. Keep it in check. Lin Jiahao slapped Lin Xian at once. He then told Qin Yiru apologetically, my Xian is like that. Don't be mad at her. All children are like that. Qin Yiru chuckled awkwardly. Gu Junjian was currently sitting on the sofa with Qin Yiru. Yunjian was leaning against the sofa with her arms crossed. Lin Jiahao chatted idly with Qin Yiru for a while more before he asked, Yiru, your daughter's company is doing so well. Why don't we let Xuanxuan's company? She's doing's company. One more person, isn't that right? He Yunjian's Yiru's why he's. It was not a question but a direct answer. He did not even ask if Qin Yiru and Yunjian agreed to it. Lin Jiahao made it sound like it was a great honor for him to let his precious daughter follow Yunjian to new cruise. You're tuning in to the Biyao's Wuxia Chronicles YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.